The National Football League record book has been rewritten by a San Francisco 49er pitch and catch combination. No pair in history has hooked up for as many touchdown passes as have Steve Young and Jerry Rice. 82 times it's been Young to Rice for a touchdown. Along the way, Steve Young has carved out a certain Hall of Fame career, while Jerry Rice is universally recognized as the greatest receiver of all time. For 11 years they've been at it. Oh, indeed, and it's Jerry Rice! And Jerry Rice marks the stumble, scores the 125th touchdown of his career.
I feel like I'm living a dream. I love going out there and entertaining people.
Jerry Rice is back in the end zone!
I know his body language. I know he's headed. I know what's going on in his mind. So I just try to get the ball to him in the perfect place and let him go make the play.
Steve Young is the point man of the NFL's best offense, and with every catch, Jerry Rice embellishes some all-time record. Along with them tonight, you'll see the game's most electrifying running back, the great Barry. Dusk in San Francisco. A beautiful night, temperature in the upper 50s. And you take a look at 3Com Park, for years known as Candlestick Park. Tonight, the 49ers against the Detroit Lions. Al Michaels with Dan Dierdorf and Boomer Esiason. Well, the Lions are 5-8, mathematically alive for a playoff spot. Realistically, they need a miracle. But they have Charlie Batch at quarterback, and Bobby Ross, the head coach, thinks he'll be his guy for years and years to come. And, of course, they have Barry Sanders. The 49ers, meanwhile, with a record of 10-3, still seeking to get past Atlanta and secure a bye in the playoffs, but they haven't been dominant, and thus there's been some frustration and a little bit of teeth gnashing. But as Steve Young, the quarterback, points out, we've reached the point where to win is not enough. We have to win with style points. Well, you need those style points to win a gold medal in figure skating in the Olympics, but you don't need style points to win the Super Bowl, which is always the 49er goal. San Francisco against Detroit coming up from the Bay Area on Monday Night Football. Back to kick it off after this. Back in San Francisco just prior to the kickoff, and let's go down to the sideline now and Lesley Visser.
Al, as you know, there are a number of future Hall of Famers in this game. The 49er challenge will be to stop one of them. Without Bryant Young, how do you limit Barry Sanders, Steve?
Well, you know, he's a tremendous player, and like you said, a Hall of Famer. And I think the most important thing that we've got to know that he's a great player, but they've got a supporting cast with Herman Moore and Johnny Morton to help him out, complement him well. So I think it's important for us to control the clock a little bit and put some long drives together so he can stand over on that sideline and watch a lot of this game.
Watch it from the sideline. Thanks a lot, Steve. Back to you, Al.
Thank you, Lesley. And a reminder, commentary for tonight's game can also be heard in Spanish by pressing the SAP button on your remote. And if you're pressing it right now, buenos noches to you. For the rest of you, Charlie Batch and the Detroit Lions with a record of 5-8, and they will kick off with Jason Hansen putting it in the air. And back deep to receive for the 49ers is Terry Kirby, who had a big day last Sunday and was extremely instrumental in the 49er overtime win over the Carolina Panthers. And here we go from San Francisco. Kirby accepts the kick at the 2-yard line and gets popped at the 18-yard line. Good coverage that time by the Lions, and Richard Jordan, number 99, with the tackle. Steve Young, magnificent again this season. Just another typical Young season. 31 touchdowns and only 9 picks, and a rating in triple figures. Hurst and Edwards in the backfield. Owens really developing along with Rice outside. Clark is the tight end. Deese, Brown, Dolman, Gogan, and Scrafford up front. Deese will flip-flop between left and right tackle as Hurst on first down gets past the 20, and Garrison, already into 4 figures this season, tacks on 9 more. It'll be 2nd and 1. Ron Rice with the hit. Defensively for the Lions, Porcher leads the team in sacks. Holland, Ellis, and Waldrop up front. The linebackers, Fredericks and Boyd, having a real good year. Aldridge, the ex-Bronco. Westbrook and Fair at the corners. Terry, the rookie, along with Rice and Mark Carrier, who was hurt last week and didn't play, back in the lineup tonight at safety. On 2nd and 1, Young fumbles and then is able to pick it up and not only recover it and maintain possession, but might have the first down.
Was it the last time we were here? We saw a lot of miscommunication between Steve Young and Chris Dahlman as center, and Well, I think what the 49ers really want to try to do tonight is run the ball, and you heard Steve Mariucci at the top of the program say, hey, the best defense for Barry Sanders is to keep him on the sideline. Steve just pulls out a little bit early, and the ball was a little short, and that's exactly what happens, a fumble.
What is it about Monday nights? Last week it was Brett Favre with a half dozen fumbles. First down from the 29, and Young's first pass is errant and incomplete, intended for the tight end Irv Smith.
Well, Mark Carrier with the coverage right there really forced Steve Young to throw the ball low and away. That was good, solid coverage by the Lion free safety on the tight end. That was a smart throw by Young to get it away. That was the equivalent of a throwaway, Boomer.
Exactly, and it's part of accuracy of a quarterback. You know, you don't always want to try to throw it at the receiver. Just throw it to where either he has an opportunity to get it, or there's no defensive player has an opportunity to get it.
2nd and 10. Hurst, and he gets hit as he reaches the line of scrimmage. That's Darius Holland, and he was a questionable starter tonight. They thought about inactivating him.
He hurt his ankle in their game last week against Jacksonville, and really he was up until yesterday they weren't even planning on him being there, and then all of a sudden he was able to put some weight on it, able to push off, and he comes up with a big play early.
So let me ask you this, Dan, in your scouting reports, in your offensive line meetings, I mean, you have to know that he has a bothersome ankle, and you're going to go after it.
Of course you are. You got to test it early, the same way you'd go after a corner who's hurt or anybody else for that matter.
Well, he responded to that test with a 2-yard loss. Hurst is now split to the right, flanked to the right on 3rd down and 12, and Young escaping. Steve going against the grain and gets forced out of bounds at the 26-yard line by Tracy Scroggins. For the Niners, they pick up 1 first down, but now have to punt early in the first.
That's interesting. If that goes down as a sack, it's their 45th sack. It's something that has really troubled them on the offense. It's a very high number for a team that puts up big yards.
Terry Fair back to receive, and Reggie Roby, longtime NFL punter, mainly with Miami, and now booting for San Francisco, to send it up into the night sky, but it's a low liner that bounces at the 36, and he gets a nice bit of extra yardage. In fact, a total of 13 more yards on the roll, and a flag is thrown at the very end. Ron Blum is tonight's referee.
It has to be the gunner coming from out of bounds, touching the ball, being the first guy, I would think.
There was no.
It doesn't look like there's anything else but that, right?
There was no contact. No Lion was anywhere close, and at the time he threw the flag, just a bunch of 49ers around the ball. It'd be pretty tough to be something against Detroit.
Number 30 of the kicking team was out of bounds and the first man to come in and touch the ball. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat 4th down.
And they most certainly will make San Francisco kick again because of the fact they got no return. So,
and especially as
not a smart play.
And especially as good as Terry Fair has been. And you know, these are the little parts of the game, the little rules right here. Take a look at the 25-yard line at the bottom of your screen. It looks like he goes out of bounds here.
It's a rookie. It is Lance Schulters, the rookie from Hofstra.
Oh, don't get me started again now.
Lance almost left the stadium. He was 5 yards out of bounds.
It's one of those little rules that you have to make sure you go over as a coaching staff.
Now Roby's punt is more artistic, but Fair fields at the 39 and gets buried. Hit immediately and pushed all the way back by Mark Edwards. And they'll spot the ball at the 38-yard line. That's where Batch and the Lions take over in the first quarter in San Francisco. Charlie Batch, a starter since week 3, played his college ball at Eastern Michigan with Barry Sanders and Tommy Vardell in the backfield, Morton and Moore outside, Rasby the tight end, Roberts, Compton, Pine, Hardings, and Ramirez the interior 5 as Detroit starts from the 38-yard line. No score early in the first quarter.
You can see Charlie Batch audibling at the line of scrimmage right now, and as a rookie,
and he
gives it poise.
He gives it to Barry Sanders for a gain of 1 up to the 39. He's hit first by Gabe Wilkins after a 1-yard pickup. Now the Niner defense trying to rally, of course, despite the absence of Bryant Young. It's Barker, Wilkins in Young's old spot, along with Junior Bryant and Chris Dolman having a great year. Woodall, Tubbs, and Ken Norton, the backers. Walker and McQuarters, the corners, with McDonald and Hanks, the safeties. R.W. McQuarters, the rookie from Oklahoma State. 2nd down and 8. And Batch throws, and he guns it, and it's close to a first down. Caught by Johnny Morton, who gets pushed back by Darnell Walker.
You know, these are the things that you look for in a rookie quarterback. The way he comes back, sets his feet, and follows through. And these are the types of things that Bobby Ross and Jim Zorn are all excited about when they see him and the way he's delivering the ball. I say he's got a really strong arm, but he can throw the touch pass, and he certainly can drill it in there just like that. Watch his set here. Watch how he goes back. Play action fake. He knows where he wants to go with the ball, and look at that follow through right over the top and puts it right in the numbers.
They're going to measure to see if the Lions picked up a first down. They got a pretty good spot in rewarding them the forward progress, and they do indeed get the first down. I know that a lot, and there is Jim Zorn, who's the quarterback coach. I know a lot gets said about Charlie Batch, that he's got Barry Sanders and he's got Johnny Morton and Herman Moore and all this wonderful surrounding talent. It is still, Boomer, an extraordinary accomplishment for a rookie quarterback to have almost twice as many touchdown passes as interceptions.
Sure is.
That you have to give him a great deal of credit.
And no picks in the last 5 games. And this is Tommy Vardell, of all things, to the 33. And I say of all things because Vardell comes into the game averaging 1.1 yard per carry. He just gained 18 all season long. Tommy Vardell, if you can believe it, has picked up 17 yards on 15 carries until now.
And of course he's living up to his nickname Touchdown Tommy because he's used predominantly in their short yardage situation. He's got a half a dozen touchdowns rushing. But that was a veritable explosion by Vardell.
Unbelievable. 2nd longest run of his career. As Batch throws, and that's incomplete off the hands of Tommy Vardell. So it's amazing. Vardell, 15 carries all year, 6 times into the end zone, and gains more yardage on 1 play than he had cumulatively.
He must be exhausted.
Yes.
This is that last pass was a pass that Charlie should have completed, and we talking to Bobby Ross last night. He says sometimes his setup gets a little bit inconsistent. And he doesn't step into the ball here. He steps forward and tries to throw it against his body, hence the fact that it is not accurate.
2nd and 10. They send Morton in motion. They give it to Barry Sanders, and he can't get sprung free. Junior Bryant makes the hit.
Well, Junior Bryant, along with all the other defensive linemen and linebackers for the 49ers, really have to pick up the pace. They got it put to him last week by the Carolina Panthers, a team that was averaging 72 yards a game rushing. They stoked it for 203 yards against the 49ers, and in their defense, they were traumatized. They were a little passive because of that injury to Bryant Young. They've got to turn it back on if they're going to make a serious run into the playoffs.
3rd and 11 now. McDonald and Norton both come up to the line of scrimmage. Both blitz. And Batch hangs in there and then throws incomplete, intended for Morton, and he was covered by Walker.
You talk about being traumatized. Before the game, I was speaking with Ken Norton, number 51. He is actually the player who flew into Bryant Young's leg and broke it. And, you know, this is a guy who was certainly traumatized. And he had an emotional downer, really, and he had to come out of it. And last week, he really didn't play his best game. But tonight before the game, I spoke to him. He said, you know, quietly, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my season to my good friend Bryant Young.
And Norton's he's seen too much of that. He's been involved in 3 catastrophic injuries in his career to other players as John Jett punts, and they can't down it before it rolls into the end zone. As the Lions tried to down it, that was Lamar Campbell camping out at the 1, but couldn't make the touch. Thus the Niners will have it at the 20. The aerial coverage tonight provided by Southwest Airlines as you look down into 3Com Park, nay Candlestick Park. Robert Porcher and the Lion defense setting up right now as the 49ers have it for the 2nd time at the 20-yard line. And on 1st down, it is Young throwing. It is caught by Stokes, and Stokes is able to stay in bounds long enough to get the 1st down pending a marker.
He must have some sort of face mask, either on the offense or the defense. You know, this is really where the Detroit Lions fall short because of the size difference between the wide receivers and the defensive backs. You take a look at Terry Fair being 5'9", 185, you know, going against a 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver. That, you know, that's where you want to throw the football.
5-yard face mask foul. Number 23 defense. 5 yards from the end of the run. First down.
The fact of the matter is the 49ers have a size mismatch in every game.
Right.
It differs from week to week how big of a mismatch do they have. These are huge receivers for the 49ers.
You know, and I guess in Fair's defense, you know, he is a rookie. You know, and he sees big guys every day. You know, he goes against Herman Moore and Johnny Morton, but that's the place that you want to go. That's the place you want to exploit.
This is Garrison Hurst swinging to the outside on first down, turning the corner, picking up the first down, thrown down at the 45-yard line of Detroit by Stephen Boyd. 19-yard gain for Garrison Hurst, who comes into the game averaging a scintillating 5 yards a carry.
Wonderful block at the point of attack by Kirk Scrafford, the right tackle. Watch him, number 76 comes out and locks up on Rob Fredrickson. He's got the contain on the play, and that allows Hurst to get to the outside. And look at the good shoulder that Bryant Westbrook puts into Garrison Hurst. And again, Hurst with remarkable strength fights it off.
From the 45-yard line, Young swings it out, caught by the fullback Mark Edwards. And it's a 5-yard gain to the 40. He's tackled there by Stephen Boyd.
It seems like every time that I turn on the TV to look at highlights, Garrison Hurst has taken off somewhere, and he has really found a home out here, and he's been given this guy, Steve Young, a great lift.
Well, one reason is that in the last 3 weeks, he's done that.
Look, that's unbelievable.
81-yard reception, the 70-yard run on a Monday night against the Giants. Last week, 71 yards. First player since Elroy Crazy Legs Hurst in 51 to accomplish that. And this is Hurst again to the 31-yard line. This is Crazy Legs Hurst.
And keep in mind what he had, a 96-yarder against the Jets in overtime. That win to get the season started for the 49ers.
I had the luxury of playing with him for a couple games in preseason when we both were with the Arizona Cardinals, and the one thing that I marveled at was when I handed him the ball, he went right up the middle, nonstop, full speed ahead, and did not back down. And you could see the speed when he gets outside, but his runs in between the tackles are pretty impressive as well.
Clock ticking down, 7:07 left in the first as Young off the play fake buys a ton of time. But the secondary does its job, and the pass is thrown away. Robert Porcher finally put the late pressure on Steve Young.
Well, he only had 2 receivers downfield, and both of them were double covered. So that was an outstanding job by the Lions secondary, rather.
This is Robert Porcher coming around the corner, and as a defensive lineman, you can't ever stop. You just got to keep going, because you never know when the play is going to end. And Kirk Scrafford is going to have his hands full tonight because Porcher is their best pass rusher.
And if you happen to be the defensive lineman that has contained to that side with Steve Young, you better stay home the entire time.
2nd and 10. Hurst. And he's tackled at the 30 by Fredrickson. Well, the 49ers, as you know, are trying to get past Atlanta, but Atlanta has its fate in its own hands if they win. But if you haven't heard about Dan Reeves today, Dan Reeves underwent quadruple bypass surgery. The Atlanta coach, they announced it as successful to the extent that they believe that Reeves will be able to be involved in game planning for the last game of the season. He'll be out of the hospital, they think, by Friday, can game plan for that last game against Miami, and hope to have him back on the sideline for the playoffs. And our very best to one of the great guys in the game, Dan Reeves.
You got that right.
3rd down and 9. Young takes off. And Steve seeking the first down, reaches, but is shy of it. Kevin Abrams makes the tackle, and as we widen that, you can see he's about a yard or a little more shy of it.
And what a tackle by Abrams. Not many times does Steve Young have an open field one-on-one with anybody where he gets tackled as cleanly as Kevin Abrams brought him down there.
And you got to be careful down here in the red zone. If you're going to play man coverage, you have to keep somebody's eye on Steve Young, because he will recognize that, and he will take off and make plays just like this.
Well, they're going to go for it.
These are things you don't draw up. You can't draw that type of play up. That's just spontaneity.
4th and 1 with split backs.
And here he goes again.
And it's Young off the fake to Hurst. Inside the 10, upended at the 5-yard line.
Look at Jerry Wright. Is that, no, that's J.J. Stokes. J.J. Stokes, the wide receiver to that side, blocks the corner, holds him up, and then comes back and drops the safety.
Really just wallops Mark Carrier. And
Here's Stokes. Look at this. He's locked up with Westbrook, keeps him tied up. Then when he sees Steve Young, comes back and cleans out Mark Carrier. What an outstanding job by a wide receiver.
What an unselfish job by a wide receiver, helping your teammate, and that's what it's all about.
Of course, it helps to be 6'4", 225 pounds.
First and goal. Now they give it to Hurst. Garrison fighting his way toward the goal line. He's in for the touchdown.
What a machine they are offensively. What a machine.
And this guy, Garrison Hurst, you know what he is? He is a fantasy football player's dream come true. He really is. I mean, the big numbers he puts up and the great season that he's having. He's kind of the unheralded star of this team, and you could see right up the middle. He's low. He's grinding it out, and he just puts it right across the goal line. What a terrific football player.
His 9th touchdown of the season, 7th on the ground. Wade Ritchie for the point after. Methodically, the 49ers go 80 yards here in the first quarter. And with 4:41 left in the period, San Francisco 7, Detroit nothing. The 49ers, and they do it with great frequency, 80 yards.
It just never stops, does it?
No.
You marvel every time you watch these guys, and you know, you would think, being out here and reading the papers and listening to people, that they have a losing record.
The standards are pretty high out here. What is it, 16 seasons in a row with them having 10 or more wins, and yet out here it's almost a catastrophe how poorly they're playing.
Terry Fair, the league leader in kickoff returns in terms of average, downs it in the end zone. Meanwhile, this Young run set up the Hurst score, 7-0 49ers. Chris Dolman, for many years at Minnesota, now with the 49ers and winding up his career. He has 13.5 sacks, among the league leaders. But Steve Mariucci expects Dolman to retire at the end of the year. From the 20-yard line, Charlie Batch on first down, going deep and incomplete, intended for Johnny Morton, who gets blanketed by the rookie R.W. McQuarters.
You know, Charlie Batch is throwing the ball a little bit wild here early in the game, and that's understandable. You know, he is a young player. He's jacked up tonight. He's got to learn to control his emotions, and you can see the coverage right here is pretty good. And the ball was overthrown, and right now Charlie's just got to settle down a little bit and find a little bit of a rhythm.
You saw a glance over at the official there by R.W. McQuarters after a little bit of contact, kind of out of the corner of his eye looking for a flag.
Now there's Sanders, and here goes Barry slithering his way with a flag down for a momentary first down, but Jim Pine, the center, is probably going to get whistled for a hold. If not him, at least somebody on Detroit, and that play will come back.
You know, we talk about Charlie Batch quite a bit. You know, Bobby Ross last night told us how much he agonized over the decision.
61 offense, 10 yards, repeat for second down.
Jim Pine was indeed flagged, number 61.
Take a look at your center right there. He's the guy. He does a little takedown right here.
Locked up with Gabe Wilkins, number 98, who's had to move into that defensive tackle position. It was manned by Bryant Young. I've seen worse.
Second down and 20 from the 10-yard line. Batch, and that's incomplete off the fingertips of Tommy Vardell, setting up a 3rd and 20. We're talking about Batch and Charlie's poise, and we've got to know him, you know, having done a couple of Monday night games now. He's a great guy to be around. The 60th pick in the draft, a very interesting childhood, a single parent home, brought up by his mother. His sister, the innocent victim of gang crossfire and killed when she was 17. And Charlie sort of the rock of that family right now, with a younger brother who's playing JC ball in Pennsylvania.
Just turned 24 years old. about 10 days or so ago. Young man.
3rd down and 20. Batch throws underneath. It's Vardell, and Tommy, who played his college ball at Stanford and was a 49er 2 years ago, with a flag down, takes it to the 21.
You know, right there was an indication of how smart a player he is, because he does, as a rookie, you might have a tendency to force it down the field, and right there he was just trying to add yards onto a punt, which ended up turning into be
Personal foul, 15-yard face mask, number 90 defense, 15 yards, first down Detroit.
You know, and a penalty for a first down. So again, the maturation of Charlie Batch right there. Don't force it. Just because it's 3rd and 25 doesn't mean you have to throw it 25 yards. Just get some yardage, add some, you know, yards onto your punt if you don't make it. But in this case, they catch a break.
Yeah, they did. They lost the run by Barry Sanders because of the holding penalty on Pine. Now they get it back because of the face mask on number 90 there, Junior Bryant. Ooh, he didn't grab the face mask at all. His hand slid across his throat. Didn't appear to me that he got the face mask at all.
11-yard gain and a 15-yard penalty with a first, and Barry can't get on track. Winfred Tubbs is there.
Ooh, that is a very fortunate play for the Lions. Boy, you wonder what they saw to even warrant it being a 15-yarder. One more time, number 90's Junior Bryant. Watch his right hand.
Watch Tommy's helmet kind of go in like that. I think that's really what caused them.
They were going by his helmet movement,
right.
but he certainly did not have a hold of the face mask.
2nd and 11. Niners with 8 in the box. And Batch is under pressure and throws at the feet of the intended receiver because of the pressure put on by Tim McDonald.
A well-timed blitz. Right
It was. And, you know, Bobby Ross was telling us that, hey, look, a lot of the teams that we played are blitzing us because of our rookie quarterback, and he's been real impressed with the way that Charlie's been handling it. You know, that's not a completion, but it's not an interception. It's a throwaway.
And one of the things the 49ers started doing last week was blitzing Tim McDonald a lot more. Again, it is compensation for their main force in the middle, getting pressure, Bryant Young not being in the lineup. And Tim McDonald is having to do a lot more pass rushing.
Coming up the middle as opposed to outside.
Right.
3rd and 11. Norton showing blitz and then backs off into coverage. And Batch's throw is at the feet of Jermaine Crowell, the rookie out of Virginia, and it's 4th down.
Well, that's a throw that you have to complete if you want to compete in this league, and you know they're not terribly difficult, and he had plenty of room to throw. He had good protection. He just threw a poorly thrown ball.
Batch is now 2 of 8 at the outset, 19 yards. That's McQuarters dropping back to accept the kick off the foot of John Jett. And Jett with a deep low kick. McQuarters from the 17-yard line. Gets a block. Gets up past the 25 and is run out of bounds up at the 28-yard line. James Williams throwing the block to spring an 11-yard return. 7-0 San Francisco. On Sunday night, the Jaguars go to Minnesota on ESPN. The Vikings trying to retain that top spot in the NFC, and Denver against Miami is our Monday night game. And through the course of history, one of the infrequent battles between Elway and Marino. Next Monday night for Miami is Young on first down throws, and it is caught up at the 40-yard line. The catch made by Terrell Owens, and he's out of bounds after picking up the first down 13 yards.
You know, when you watch Steve Young, you see no panic in him at all. You see a sense of really knowing where everybody is. It seems to me as he's gotten older, he's gotten better, and one of the reasons for that, I just think he feels at home now as a San Francisco 49er. No longer does he have to deal with the shadow of Joe Montana, and this is his franchise, this is his team, and he's certainly playing like it.
From the 40-yard line, this is Hurst. And certainly he exercised that ghost forever with the victory in the Super Bowl following the '94 season, and now, I mean, it's clear cut. This guy goes into the Hall of Fame on ballot number 1.
Without a doubt. And you know, and that's no discredit to Joe Montana, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And this guy's right there with him. And the success that both he and Steve enjoyed for this franchise, for this city, and for these fans, I mean, I don't think they realize just how lucky they are to be able to say that we had both of these guys in a 49er uniform.
It just doesn't seem fair when you look at how many other teams can't even get a credible quarterback, but they have back-to-back Hall of Famers.
And this is Kirby, who had been released before the season. Terry Fair pushes him out of bounds. Terry wanted too much money for a backup running back, so they had to release him. He went back to Florida. The Niners kept their eye on him, and about the 4th week of the season said, well, come on back. We'll pay you a little bit less, but we'll give you a chance to get some action in. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Miller Lite, an official sponsor of the NFL and the Super Bowl. By the new Dodge, it's about change. The Black & Decker cordless Wizard, portable power, and AT&T, it's all within your reach. On first down, it's the end around, and it is Terrell Owens swinging to the outside, but pursued by a trio of Lions led by Stephen Boyd. A reminder, coming up Wednesday on ABC, it's a not so merry Christmas when Danny Bonaducci shows up as Shirley Jones's son on a special holiday Drew Carey. Wednesday at 9 o'clock 8 Central right here on ABC.
And one of the weak points of the Detroit Lion defense is, and Bobby Ross has alluded to it, is he says he has to get his defensive line playing better. He thinks that Luther Ellis is playing real well, and Porsche is playing well. It's the other spots where he's got to get a little bit more oomph out of, if you will.
So Larry Peccatello, the defensive coordinator, looking on from on high, and there goes Young again with a lot of room. Slides to a halt at the 27 and a first down.
He's getting smarter in his old age too, huh?
Mature version of Steve Young.
And that will do it for the first quarter, with the Niners on the move again. The first quarter in the Bay Area is over with the score San Francisco 7, Detroit nothing. And Monday Night Football resumes after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Kirk Scrafford, the 49er tackle, who was actually had retired when the season began.
Oh, he had a bad neck.
Well, I can tell you, with a bad neck, that's not a good thing for an offensive lineman when you hit somebody with your head on every play.
Well, I played with Scrap back in Cincinnati, boy, and he's put on a lot of weight since then.
Here's Garrison Hurst on first down, another first down, a big night already for Hurst behind a Mark Edwards block. And Garrison Hurst has now carried the ball 8 times for 64 yards, 8 yards a chug.
And it's the second time that he has easily gotten around the right side of the 49er offense, the defensive left side. Again, an outstanding lead block on Fredrickson by Edwards. Good blocking by Scrafford again. And again, look at the power and the way Garrison Hurst finishes a run. Somebody in a white jersey, every time they've tackled Garrison Hurst, has paid for it.
The 49ers 117 rushing yards in 16 minutes. And now it is Owens tackled at the 10-yard line, gain of a couple, hit by Terry Fair. Well, the season winding down, gents. The 49ers in good position, but what they really need is for the Lions to knock off Atlanta next week.
Well, I think Steve Mariucci put it best when he said, we're really going to try to tackle Barry Sanders tonight, but we don't want to hurt him.
That's exactly right.
We want them all to be healthy for the game next week with Atlanta.
I think a bigger problem for the Lions defense, though, is that last week they counted at least 16 missed tackles, and you can see it again tonight. That's not a good thing for a defense to be missing tackles.
Here's Garrison Hurst.
Right now, Detroit, and it sounds simplistic, but they need Wade Ritchie to come out and kick a field goal right now. This is the point where the 49ers are going to overwhelm you. 2 quick scores, all of a sudden it's 14-0, and then it's really enough. With a rookie quarterback, you're asking an awful lot.
And the 49ers have already established a great ground game tonight. We haven't seen too much through the air, but we all know what they can do.
And you know, how great is Garrison Hurst playing this season? Jamal Anderson's having a wonderful season down in Atlanta, but you know, this guy here, is having an all-pro season as well.
3rd down and 6 now from the 8-yard line. Young surveys, and there he goes. Steve heading for the end zone. Gets twisted down at the 1. That's a 1st down, though. Mark Carrier and Stephen Boyd.
Ouch. You can see Garrison taking a little bit of exception with Bailey right there, because he actually gave Steve Young the business a little bit when he was down. And that's what you want to see. You want to see your other players on the field with you, standing up for you. I mean, in hockey, they come out and they drop the gloves and they start fighting. But, Steve Young is a terrific athlete, and he comes flying through here.
No hook slide here.
No, he is reckless, and he lets it go. And, right at the end, I think number 35, Bailey, right there, gives him a little extra shove.
Young has already rushed for 404 yards this year, rushed at the age of 37, and Terry Kirby vaults into the end zone. And the Niners have gone 80 yards and 73 yards.
Efficiency at its finest as an offensive player. You look at this, and it makes your defense better. It makes your special teams better. And they can do it on the ground, through the air, with a quarterback that's mobile.
This is some elevation by Terry Kirby, taking the high road as he heads into the end zone.
That was a Fosbury flop.
Well, if he'd have gone completely over backwards, you got to kind of get the kick. You got to be backwards. You got to be boop with that little oop.
Worth 6, and one more by Richie.
That's an oop. Oop.
Aerial coverage tonight provided by Southwest Airlines as the 49ers leading 14-0 kickoff. It is a short kick by Wade Ritchie, and it's taken up at the 15-yard line, not by Terry Fair, but by one of the up men. That's Ron Rivers, a backup running back, to about the 23. Let's go to Lesley Visser.
Al, you've been talking about 2 weeks ago when Bryant Young was hit by Ken Norton and broke 2 bones in his lower leg. Well, I spoke with him a few hours ago. He said his spirits are terrific. He spent most of the week consoling Ken Norton, but he said that he will be released from the hospital on Wednesday. The doctors have encouraged him to put 20% of his body weight on his leg to stimulate the bone. And Al, here's a frightening thought for offenses. They told him that with the calcium that will form, he could come back stronger than ever. Al.
Well, that's real good news, as that pass is incomplete and there's a flag down. David Sloan hit by Ken Norton.
And you're going to have pass interference on Ken Norton. He's a little bit too aggressive. Actually, it looked a little bit more like a hold.
51 defense. 1st down, Detroit.
That's Norton. Following up on Leslie's report on Young, the good news is he could come back stronger than ever. The other news, though, with Bryant Young is that it's doubtful he can be ready by the start of next season, Dan.
Yeah, there's no way he'll be ready for the start of training camp. Let's keep an eye there on the left of your screen. 51's Ken Norton.
Oh, he's holding him.
Yes, that's definite holding.
So it's a 1st down at the 30, and Barry Sanders has had no room at all to do anything tonight, tackled by Brenson Buckner.
He's really only had the one breakout run, and it got called back because of the holding penalty.
This is really where the pressure mounts on a rookie quarterback, and it's something that they can't truly appreciate because they've never been. You're on the road, you're against a really good offensive team that's putting up numbers against you. You have to make 1st downs. You have to keep your defense on the sideline. Give them a break. And you can take a look at right here, 12 minutes and 45 seconds of time the 49ers have the ball. You have to do something offensively right now.
Batch rolling and throws, and it is pulled in by Herman Moore up at the 46-yard line. The all-pro tackle there by Darnell Walker.
Was that some advice from the booth up here? Run?
Well, you know what? He could have ran the ball down into Herman Moore and handed it off, but again, it's the confidence that Charlie Batch has in his arm. And the nice thing for him is that he's now starting to find Herman Moore. The last couple weeks, Herman Moore has been a much bigger part of the offense. He's healthier now, and Charlie and he are starting to get their timing down.
65th catch for Herman Moore. From the 45-yard line, they give it to Sanders, and Barry, who's had negative yardage cumulatively until now, is in the positive column as he takes it to the 45 and is tackled by Buckner. Barry had 4 carries for -1 until that carry there.
They had, the 49ers did this week, Chuck Levy, who is not active tonight, taking the place of Barry Sanders in practice, running all over the place. And Steve Mariucci said he was running off the field into the locker room. They were still chasing.
Obviously, Levy too exhausted to be activated tonight.
Second and a short one, and Batch. Off the play fake. Didn't fake anybody out. Gets taken down at the 49. Buckner's been involved in the last 3 plays.
Batch is hurt.
And Dolman is also there. And Charlie shaken and still on the ground at the 48. Now Mitchell is the number 3 quarterback. And that means that if Batch comes out, you go to Frank Reich as the second quarterback.
Looked like to me that he just took it right on the helmet. And
you could hear it up here, Boomer.
Right.
You could hear the click when you know it's a helmet-to-helmet collision or a helmet-to-shoulder pad loud enough that you can hear it as far above the field as we are.
Not the thing you want to do is to take on Chris Dolman and lower your head like that, because now you're exposing the back of your neck. And, those are the types of things that you kind of lose a little bit of consciousness.
You're taught to bull your neck. Charlie puts his head down. Now, he went over the top. He didn't get a helmet-to-helmet hit, but yet Charlie Batch still down on the field here at 3-count. The good news, Charlie Batch is up and walking off over to the Detroit sideline. Remember the Thanksgiving Day game when they were playing the Steelers. He was forced to leave the game for a couple of series because he had a strained neck.
Right, and he took it right on the back. It seemed to me like he was a little woozy in his eyes. You could see him like, oh man, I took a wicked shot.
So it's 3rd down and 6 now as Frank Reich comes out of the bullpen and throws incomplete, intended for Johnny Morton.
And well, Boomer, you should be the guy to tell us a little something about Frank Reich.
He's another Maryland guy. Actually, a teammate of mine at the University of Maryland, and has been in the league for quite some time. A backup to Jim Kelly up in Buffalo. Started 1 year down in Carolina, and also started for the New York Jets when Neil O'Donnell got down. So much traveled, but definitely very effective and very bright.
John Jett to punt. The line of scrimmage is the 50. R.W. McQuarters back for the 49ers. And it's a short snap and a fake, and seeking the first down and getting it is Ron Rivers. And so Bobby Ross, with his team down 14-0, has to go to his bag of tricks, and a big play right there. Chuck Prefer, the special teams coach. First down, Detroit.
He knows coming in here now tonight that he has to do something to get his team momentum, and he can't give the ball back to the 49ers. So he's going to take a shot. It's a perfect spot on the field, and you can see right here, watch Jet in the back. He makes like he has the ball. Like Brett Favre. It's a terrific call and a gutsy call, but a call that is definitely necessary for the Detroit Lions at this point in the game.
And Jet will tell everybody they couldn't have done it without me.
And Frank Reich now hands the ball to Barry Sanders, and Sanders inside the 40 and then back outside the 40, and is tackled by McQuarters.
There's no chance that Barry Sanders won't take when he's running a football. One of these days he's going to run all the way back into his own end zone, run around the goalpost, and come back out again.
Frank has played a little bit this year. I would suspect that we're going to see some more balls down the sideline. Look for Herman Moore. Really, one of the things that the 49ers have done tonight is they left the safety over the top of R.W. McQuarters. He's locked up one-on-one with him right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to him.
2nd down and 7 now from the 40-yard line. Sanders. And the Niners real tough in the middle despite the absence of Bryant Young. It's Winford Tubbs. There's been nothing through the middle of the San Francisco defensive line available tonight.
You got to believe that your best chance right now against this 49er defense is your all-pro wide receiver working on the rookie R.W. McQuarters. And this is just not getting it done right now.
Well, that's the offensive line that fails right there. There's a couple of missed blocks. Gabe Wilkins is right there, number 98, coming from the left, Tubbs from the right. You've got to give the guy more of a chance than that. The guys up front are getting whipped by the guys in the red shirt.
Now 3rd down and 9 from the 43-yard line. And Reich fires, and it's caught at the 20-yard line by the rookie Crowell, and he's to the 8-yard line. Crowell slanting over the middle, got in between the Niner defenders, and picks up a big first down. 1st and goal.
You know, this type of situation is not new to Frank Reich. He can come right in, and be like he's been playing for the last 5 weeks. He throws a nice ball right down the middle, reads the coverage. It's a cover 2, meaning the 2 deep safeties are splitting, and they're putting pressure on the outside receivers, meaning that they're locked up one-on-one down the middle. And Crowell's been one of the nice finds for Bobby Ross and the Detroit Lions.
Big play guy this season, and that's 34 yards for the rookie. First down and goal from the 8. Barry to the 6, tackled by Wilkins. Second down and goal with 6.5 to go in the half.
See, right now what's going on here is that the Detroit Lions offense is going to be real deliberate. And the reason they want to do that is to eat up the clock, keep the offense of the 49ers on the sideline, and give their own defense a rest.
One thing Frank Reich knows how to do is bring teams from behind. He's been involved in miracle wins in college and with the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs against the Oilers a few years ago, off the bench. And this is Corey Schlesinger, who along with Vardell fills the fullback role, taking it to the 2-yard line. It'll be third down and goal.
And those are good, hard, tough yards there by Schlesinger, pounding it to the inside. That's the kind of power that a team needs to show in a goal line situation. Charlie Batch hopping on the cart. He's going to head to the Detroit locker room to get a little more detailed examination, maybe even some x-rays.
You know, one of the interesting things about Frank Reich was that during this offseason, he called me and said, boom, I'm going to hang it up. I'm retiring with you.
Third down and goal, and Sanders, who doesn't play in a lot of goal line situations, is in, but stays in to block, and the pass is incomplete, and no flag because Herman Moore was covered by Darnell Walker.
I like the attempt. That's where you want to go. You want to go with your big wide receiver against a shorter defensive back. But you know, again, Frank called me this summer, Danny. He says, you know what? I'm going to retire, boom. I've had enough. So I think what he did is that he decided to retire so he didn't have to go to training camp. And Bobby Ross called him at the end of training camp, says, you want to come now? He goes, I'll come. No problem.
8-inch advantage for Moore there, and the Lions are going for it on 4th and goal from the 1.5. And Ron Rivers is in the backfield. Not Sanders. Moore in motion to the inside, and Wright throws, and it's incomplete.
Oh, they're trying to run a pick.
And he had him too, and he knows he had him, and he just did not make the throw. It was the perfect call against the right defense.
Tried to hit the tight end David Sloan, so the fake punt puts them in position to score, but they can't. 14-0.
On the last play, Frank Reich has an opportunity to throw a touchdown pass. He has to negotiate the guys in front of him. All he has to do is pull the string a little bit and let David Sloan run underneath it. He tried to direct it too much, and it was a play that he knows that he has to make.
But they probably ran that play during practice all week, but it was Charlie Batch throwing the football.
And now the 49ers out of the shadow of the goalpost with Mark Edwards taking it from the 2 to the 7. And for the Detroit Lions, down by 14, they go 76 yards in 13 plays, 0 points.
No, I would agree with you, Dan, but I know Frank, and I know how he is. I know how tough he is on himself. I mean, that's a play that he has to make.
Oh, no question.
And normally he makes it. And and this is the part of the the aspect of the game where he's really adept at coming off the bench and making plays like that on a normal basis.
Boomer, I'm just trying to be nice to your buddy here, and you're having none of it. You're having none of it.
This is Hurst on 2nd and 5 for a first down, so they've gone from the 2 out to the 24 on 2 plays, and Brian Westbrook makes the tackle.
You're killing me, man. You're going to get me in trouble now.
I'm not. I'm
just telling you how he's feeling. I'm not telling you how I feel.
As usual, to the right side of the 49er offensive line. Ron Rice misses it, and Garrison Hurst piling up big yards as they hammer away at the left side of Detroit's defense.
17-yard gain, first down from the 24-yard line. Young caught by Rice, so Jerry in the books right now to the 31-yard line. And that's a gain of 7. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Charles Schwab, providing people, technology, and support to help you gain financial control. Inspire technology with a human touch. Nokia, connecting people. and direct computer solutions for business at home and around the world. Be Direct Dell.
You know, one of the things about Jerry Rice, we were here last time, and he was frustrated. And it goes back to the fact that he's playing with a tender right knee, hurt himself November 15th. And it's really just come to light in a lot of people's minds that he is playing hurt. And it's not a surgically repaired knee, it's the other knee.
It's his right knee that's bothering him. There was contact. It looks like this might be an easy first down for the 49ers.
Encroachment, 96 defense, 5 yards by measurement, first down.
Henry Taylor, rookie from South Carolina. Jerry Rice, every time he touches the ball, something happens in terms of an embellishment of a record. And there's another one right there. 191 consecutive games with a reception. And he just keeps on piling up records and embellishments of records and just the numbers. Some numbers will never be duplicated.
That record, of course, is games in which you played.
Right.
Jerry missed almost all of last year, as everyone knows. So you have to play in a game to be eligible for that record. And again to the right side.
Hurst across the 50 to the 48-yard line, where Mark Carrier finally brings him down. And so in the first half alone, Garrison Hurst has already gained 97 yards in a little bit less than 28 minutes.
Well, Kirk Strafford out there at right tackle, bad neck and all. Kevin Gogan, the right guard, they're just wiping out. There's the lead blocker out front, Mark Edwards.
Well, you know, there's no penetration whatsoever. And really the fullback goes out there with nobody to block.
Young, and then nothing happened in there, and he throws it into the Lions bench. 2:05 to go in the first half. You can get into the swing of the holidays with Mike and the gang from Spin City. That's tomorrow, Spin City, right here on ABC.
You talk about the West Coast offense, Dan. I mean, it's a lot of it's scheming, a lot of it's formations, and a lot of it is taking, you know, over the weaknesses of the opposing defense that you're playing. And right now they keep running outside and gaining a lot of yards out there.
8.8 yards per carry for Garrison Hurst. And Barry less than 2.
Hurst adding to that average into triple figures tonight, inside the 20 to the 18-yard line, and maybe to the Pro Bowl as well with a performance like this.
And again, outstanding blocking at the point of attack, blocking downfield by the wide receivers of the 49ers. And as we come to the 2-minute warning, the Detroit Lions are being routed by the 49ers.
49ers coming close to 200 yards on the ground already in less than a half, thanks mainly to that man.
That is unbelievable. And what that means, linebackers are getting eaten up in the middle. There's no penetration by the defensive line, and the safeties aren't making the tackles.
No, everybody shares in that.
Absolutely.
First down from the 19-yard line, and now it's Terry Kirby.
The thing that's a little surprising about this is that Detroit is pretty respectable against the run. They're 18th in the NFL. They're giving up an average of only 113 yards a game.
But, you know, they're so undersized, Dan, and that's the thing that Bobby Ross alluded to. You know, we're so small up front. You know, we don't have very many 300-pounders up there. They lost Dan Owens to injury. I mean, this is a small defensive front that is getting pushed around right now.
Number 94, you see there, Luther Ellis. He's the stoutest of their defensive line.
And he's 290.
Second down and 7 is Young. Throws, caught, and out of bounds goes Jerry Rice at the 6, and that's a first down, first and goal.
Jerry.
You know, defense is about gang tackling. It's about getting to the point of attack and not absorbing blocks, taking blocks on in the hole. And right now the Detroit line defense hasn't done that.
Jerry Rice taking Terry Fair, the rookie, and making him do a 360 to try to stay with him. And right now, anybody in a Detroit uniform in their defensive huddle, a little back on their heels.
Little.
Yeah.
They're on roller skates right now, my friend.
First and goal. This drive started at the San Francisco 2. And it's Rice spinning, but he can't get into the end zone. He's out at the 1. Bryant Westbrook with the coverage. Jerry this season has been into the end zone on 7 occasions.
They're trying to get him a touchdown. You could just sense it up here.
Well, he's Irv Smith, a second tight end, is going to check into the huddle. And Jerry starts to the sidelines. Yeah, Jerry's going to come out of the huddle here as they go to a little bit more of a power formation.
2nd and goal.
Pass.
Is 80 open? No, he's going to go to the back of the end zone to Terrell Owens for the touchdown. And that's 12 touchdown receptions for Terrell Owens as it culminates a 98-yard drive.
You know, this is the type of offense down here where you run a lot of crossing patterns. Actually, 2 guys were wide open. I think Greg Clark, a tight end, actually, no, it's number 82, Irv Smith, rolling to his left was open, and there's Terrell Owens in the back of the end zone. Crossing patterns in the end zone like that takes time, and you have to have confidence in your pass blocking.
Richie for the point after. The 49ers tonight have scored on drives of 80, 73, and 98 yards. Steve Young was talking about they're only happy with style points.
They got them tonight.
They're silent tonight. This has been a perfect 10. 21-0. Back in San Francisco, Al Michaels, Dan Dierdorf, Boomer Esiason, and Lesley Visser. Terrell Owens, 12 touchdowns over his last 10 games, has really become the go-to guy. And Terry Fair is back to receive Wade Ritchie's kick in the waning moments of the first half. Fair, a rookie out of Tennessee, up to the 29-yard line with a minute to play in the first half. What's coming up at the half? Here's Chris Berman.
Up at halftime, the ESPN Top 10 Plays of the Week, featuring prominently giant contributions. And Shannon Sharp talks with Al about the perfect dream now vanished. Back to you in our favorite city in America, San Francisco.
I like San Francisco, but I'm kind of partial to New York myself.
Well, yeah, but you know what? This used to be, and the Chamber of Commerce came up with a slogan, everybody's favorite city.
Yeah, I know. And my point is that, you know.
It's not your favorite city?
Well, no, it's one of my favorite cities. Definitely.
I don't think right now it's the Lions' favorite
No,
city.
it is certainly not. That is incomplete, intended for Herman Moore and broken up by Darnell Walker. I always thought that you felt that Levittown was your favorite city.
Levittown, that's right. East Islip, actually.
Right. Comac.
You two done?
Yeah,
Not
I
yet.
guess we are. No, not yet. Still have a lot more towns to talk about.
Outstanding coverage there by Darnell Walker. Right in the lap of Herman Moore. He's sitting all over that thing.
You got to be careful here. If you Lions, you don't want to give the ball back to the 49ers right now.
2nd and 10 from the 29-yard line. Right. And that's incomplete up at the 37-yard line. And Jermaine Crowell, the rookie, was covered by Tim McDonald. 3rd and 10.
You know, when your offense puts 21 points on the board, just like San Francisco has done, your defense plays differently. They take more chances. They're free and loose. They can make plays like this. They don't worry about really missing a play like that because they know that they can be a little bit more aggressive.
Actually, that ball was right on the hands of Crowell. A ball he probably should have caught.
3rd and 10 from the 29-yard line. Reich throws, caught. Morton into 49er territory to the 46-yard line.
Call timeout right now as quickly as possible.
Lance Schulters made the stop. They do. 25-yard gain. They have 2 remaining.
And one of the good things about Frank Reich is really probably his best attribute is how bright he is and how smart, and he's really been a great influence on Charlie Batch, and Jim Zorn said he's been terrific. And right there, you know, he still has a lot left to give, and he can put the ball on the money when he steps into it.
Thought you were going to credit him with being brilliant for calling a timeout there.
Well, he knew that. I mean,
every offensive lineman on the field, every guy, the hot dog guy up in section 247 knew he was going to call a timeout.
I'm just trying to remind him, that's all.
Wait a minute. Are you done? Let me get to this for a second.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. ABC tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. Still America's favorite family comedy. Look out for an all-new, hilarious Home Improvement. Tomorrow at 8, 7 Central. Right here on ABC.
I saw every one of those offensive linemen turn around to Frank and say, what are we doing?
Oh, yeah, right.
First down from the 46. Reich throws.
Go.
Caught. Crowell. McQuarters takes him down by the ankles at the 27-yard line, and timeout Detroit.
See, there they did it again.
I can't imagine why they called timeout with 31 seconds left. You'd think they'd be content to just let the clock run out.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that the offensive linemen don't really want to call timeout because they're not really sure, you know, how many do we have? You know, should I be calling it? You know, that's part of the quarterback's job. You know that.
No, I don't know.
Oh, how many? You know, how many offensive line? I guess you've called timeout in your day.
Do you think they can't read the clock?
They read the clock, but they're so entrenched in what they have to do and worrying about blocking Chris Dolman and all these guys. I mean,
when you're Al in Boomerville, it must be a wonderful place.
Boomerville is leaving a message on my machine at 9:45 Eastern time the other day, knowing I live on the West Coast. That's Boomerville.
Yeah, but you deserve that.
Oh, right. Okay. 31 seconds left in the half. 1st and 10 at the 27-yard line. Reich throws, and Morton reaches for it and makes the catch. And the Lions trying to stay in the game, needing a touchdown.
I don't know why Frank's trying to down it because the guy's actually out of bounds. So here we go.
Well, he didn't realize it.
He couldn't.
Until one of his offensive linemen told him.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you spotted it.
That's first down at the 15-yard line. They have one timeout. The ball is at the 15.
And you know, he does a nice job here going away from coverage and throwing it outside. And Johnny Morton gets kudos for getting out of bounds. A smart, intelligent play.
From the 15. Reich in the pocket, throws low, incomplete at the 10, the feet of Herman Moore with 20 ticks left.
Roy Barker that time with the pass rush got into Frank as he was attempting to throw the football, and Frank wasn't able to get anything on the pass.
You know, and he could still work the middle of the field with one timeout left right now. If he can get a man coverage and he can get a crossing route, maybe even like a pick route, even though you're not allowed to say pick in the NFL.
There's Sylvester Croom, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, working his chart up in the press box.
And they're going to empty the backfield here. There'll be 5 guys out in the pattern and work the middle of the field with 2 deep.
2nd and goal. Reich throwing over the middle, and it is incomplete, but a flag comes in. David Sloan was wrestled down by Merton Hanks, and they flag Hanks.
Again, from up here, we could see the defense. The middle of the field was wide open because of their coverage, and you know, a veteran quarterback can see that. He's going to go right to the middle.
Looks like Hanks actually just went for a tackle prematurely. With his arms around the intended receiver, there's no way that that's not going to draw the flag.
It's like they're also
Pass interference, 36 defense. First down, Detroit.
You know, I give Detroit a lot of credit for staying aggressive towards the end of this quarter and trying to get points here. And you know, and the 49er defense really had a chance to ice this game, at least from this point on, by just stopping them, and they were unable to do it.
Well, there's only 16 seconds left, and Detroit with 1 timeout remaining. They'll get a couple shots at the end zone of stuffing it in, and this is and Frank having some confusion. Are they going to have to burn a timeout here?
Well, he's going to try to get the official to raise the play clock.
Right. They started the play clock prematurely.
One thing that he can do is he can argue. You know, we were college roommates, and he always used to argue with me over who owed what.
Well, they're going to,
and you know, and he can basically weasel his way out of anything.
1st and goal. The play fake, and then it is Merton Hanks, who just got called for the penalty, picking it off.
How does his head stay on his shoulders? Is what I want to know.
I want to know how you throw an interception in that situation.
You want to throw it high and away. You don't want to give an opportunity for a defender to make the play. Frank tries to stick it in here. If he's able to throw it up and over and give his guy to make a chance, that's a great play by Merton Hanks, but a ball that needs to be thrown high and away.
Trying to find his tight end, Walter Rasby. Granted, an outstanding play by Merton Hanks, getting out there and making the catch with the hands, but talk about a lance through the heart of the Detroit Lions.
Woo. Meanwhile, the 49ers back to their old dominating ways at 3Com Park. At the half, it's San Francisco 21, Detroit nothing. The Lexus halftime show coming up with the top 10 plays of the week. We'll also visit with Shannon Sharpe of the Broncos after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC stations. And back in San Francisco, the 49ers on top by a score of 21-0. And as Chris talked about moments ago on our Lexus halftime show, the Denver Broncos with a mark of 13-0, trying to make it 14-0, go into the Meadowlands yesterday to face the New York Giants. And it was at the end of the game in the final minute, Kent Graham going back to pass and finding Amani Toomer, who makes this great catch in the back of the end zone, just inbounds to take the lead. Then John Elway's last gasp Hail Mary falls incomplete in the end zone, and the Denver Broncos take that long ride home to Colorado with Coach Mike Shanahan on the short end of a score for the first time this season. Joining us now, the All-Pro tight end of the Denver Broncos, Shannon Sharpe, who joins us from Denver. And Shannon, I know a lot of the players and you yesterday, and talked about the fact your primary goal, of course, is to win the Super Bowl. But on the plane ride back and today, is there any sense amongst the players of an opportunity for greatness missed?
Not really, Al, because at the beginning of the season, our goal was to win a division, get home field advantage, and play in the Super Bowl and win it. And anything that we accomplished along the way was going to be gravy. Getting Terrell 2,000 yards of breaking Dickerson record, John 50,000 passing yards or 300 touchdowns, that would have been icing. And that still haven't wavered our focus. We want to win the Super Bowl. We want to win that game. And anything that came along with that, we were going to take it.
I found it interesting. A lot of coaches would have poo-pooed the perfect season and gone to that coach speak of one game at a time. But it's almost as if Mike Shanahan dangled this carrot in front of you guys for several weeks about the undefeated season.
Well, it was there. I mean, once we got to double digits, I mean, we were there, and so we might as well enjoy it. And we wanted to see how far we can take it. The Giants played a wonderful game yesterday. They have a very physical defense. They shut us down. I mean, if someone would have told me that we're going to be held to 16 points with the potent offense that we have, I wouldn't have believed it. They came out, they established the running game, they got the big plays that they needed to win the ball game, and they won the ball game. We can't take anything away from them. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not so much what we did, it's what they did.
Shannon, you're going to go into the playoffs this year in better shape than you were at the outset last year, because last year you had to win the wild card game, no week off, then win 2 on the road. This year you have that week off guaranteed, 2 home games to win before you get to the Super Bowl. Do you feel you're better positioned this year to get to the Super Bowl than last year?
Well, I guess we have to, we still have 2 more games in the regular season. We have some very physical teams we're coming up against, Miami and Seattle, and the thing, they're fighting for playoff position, so we know we're going to get their best shot. We just need to match that intensity. We need to be playing well going into the playoffs. And kind of last year, we kind of stumbled. We played well the last game of the season against San Diego, and somehow we found the rhythm against Jacksonville and went on from there. We just need to be playing well in December and going into January and just let whatever happens, happens.
Quickly now, give me your gut feeling about your quarterback, John Elway, and what you think in terms of John coming back to play again in 1999. Will it happen?
Well, I honestly don't know. I think the thing is, when he's been in there, he's played exceptionally well for us. I mean, just a week ago, he passed for 400 yards to show the world that he still can throw the football. Even though we've depended heavily on Terrell running the football this year, John can still throw the football. So I think after the season, he's going to sit down and talk to his wife, his kids, his father. He's going to sit down and adjust it and see. But I honestly think he can play.
We look forward to seeing you next week, Shannon. Thank you very much. And we will see you and the Denver Broncos. It's John Elway and Dan Marino matched up next week, Denver against Miami on Monday Night Football. Meanwhile, here in San Francisco at halftime, 21-0 49ers.
The Lexus Halftime Show has been brought to you by Lexus, where even the pursuit is exhilarating. We'll be back with the second half kickoff after this from our ABC stations.
And we're back in San Francisco as we start the second half. Al Michaels with Dan Dierdorf, Boomer Esiason, Lesley Visser, and Bryant Young. A get-well card sent out to the 49er tackle as he recuperates, and the 49ers kick off. Wade Ritchie sends one down to the 9-yard line. Terry Fair to run it back, and he brings it back to the 26. And let's check in with Lesley Visser.
Al, everyone saw at the end of the half Merton Hanks' interception. You might be wondering the genesis of his gyration. It actually comes from Sesame Street. He was watching TV with his daughters. One of them particularly liked Bert, so he promised to do that after every interception. Al, we can only be thankful she didn't love Miss Piggy.
Yes. That's a great story.
It is.
It is cute.
The genesis of his gyration.
So the genesis of her outfit tonight is Sideline Spice.
West Coast outfit. First down from
know.
the 26-yard line as Barry Sanders takes it to the 27. Of course, it's one thing to imitate a character. It's another to beat Merton Hanks and be as loose as Merton Hanks can be.
There has to be a certain amount of flexibility involved there that
Yes.
I know that I do not possess.
Oh.
I don't know how the head stays attached to the shoulders when he starts moving.
Well, that's what I asked. I was like,
well, he calls
it's
it.
gotta hurt. That is gotta hurt.
Why doesn't he call it the Burt dance? He calls it a chicken dance.
Is that what he calls it?
Yeah, he refers to it as the chicken dance.
Second down and 10 from the 26-yard line.
Must be copyright infringement involved.
Frank Reich in relief of the injured Charlie Batch throws, caught by Morton, has the first down, gets rolled down by Walker up at the 41-yard line.
You know, we alluded to it earlier that Frank Reich is part of two of the greatest comebacks in football history. One at the University of Maryland when they came back to beat the University of Miami, and then against the Houston Oilers in a playoff game with the Buffalo Bills, both over 30 points. And he's a guy that doesn't get rattled very often, and he made 2 bad plays down in the end zone, but he's a guy who knows that he has confidence in himself, and he'll start making some plays.
That was a 32-point comeback in that win against the Oilers in the 92 playoffs as Moore didn't make the catch. Incomplete. Herman Moore drops it up at the 45.
The first one, I was a rookie in the NFL, and I left at halftime. I was so disgusted that Maryland was losing, and when I came back, I found out that they had won, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. The next one, I was actually in the studio doing the game for another network, and I told everybody, don't turn the television off. And sure enough, he came back and did it again.
Darnell Walker being looked at by Lindsey McLean, the San Francisco 49ers trainer. Antonio Langham, number 43, who recently activated. He's been injured himself, takes his place.
Now Reich.
Oh, that ball was tipped.
Reverse roll, and it's incomplete. Trying to guide it into Herman Moore. Flag comes down well after the end of the play.
Well, it can't be interference if the ball was tipped, and it most clearly was tipped.
It could be holding, though, right?
Yeah, it could be that, but.
Referee tonight is Ron Blum. They wave it off.
Pass was tipped. Therefore, there is no pass interference. Third down.
Yep.
No, I still say the area where the Detroit Lions can exploit the 49er defense is outside. Antonio Langham's been out. He's been hurt. There's the tip right there. But and watch Herman Moore come across, and there's Merton Hanks getting there a little bit too quickly, and certainly irrelevant after the tip.
Tip was by Ken Norton. Third down 10 from the 41. Reich fires to the outside and caught by Johnny Morton again as he's working that sideline with great prowess tonight. First down.
And that's the area where they have to exploit. This is Antonio Langham has been out. He's been injured. He has not been on the field. He's been practicing, but still, it's not like game time conditions. And you want to know where the weakness of the 49er defense has been. It's been in this particular area right here, defending the pass.
Well, they are the 27th ranked team in the league against the pass, giving up 227 yards a game. So It certainly has been done to the 49ers before.
Absolutely. And again, I can't reiterate it enough. That's where you want to go. That's where you want to make your plays.
Wright works the other sideline, and then it's dropped by Jermaine Crowell, the rookie. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Once again, here's Lesley.
Al, Charlie Batch was x-rayed at halftime for the strain on his lower back. His return is doubtful. He said he couldn't even bend over. He was walking very slowly. By the way, the first player at the start of the 3rd quarter to ask about him was Chris Dolman. Al?
Okay, thank you, Lesley. The Lions next week, and we don't know about Charlie right now, of course. The Lions go home to play Atlanta in a game very crucial to the Falcons and also to the 49ers. 2nd down and 10 from the 42-yard line. Screen, Barry Sanders, and he slips down at the 45-yard line. Dolman is there, and Dolman is hurt.
I was going to say, that was pretty close to a late hit by Whitford Tubbs there on Barry Sanders. I thought maybe they might have thrown a flag.
Dolman's going to come off. Chris having a great year, but Steve Mariucci was telling us a couple of weeks ago that he does expect Chris to retire at the end of the season.
Well, to be a 14-year player at defensive end and be as productive. Now, keep in mind the play's still alive. There it's dead.
Now he's down.
Yep. And we've seen that flag lots of times.
Absolutely.
Tubbs coming in with the late pop.
On 3rd down and 13. Wright swinging to the outside, but then he's run down at the 41 by Tyrone Leggett.
Well, we talked about Crazy Legs Hirsch earlier in this telecast. Frank tried to put a little swivel hips on him.
You know, we used to race in college, and he swore that he was faster than I was.
I think maybe he'd have been better off just running rather than juking.
Well, you know, we kind of get out there. We kind of think we got a little Barry Sanders in us, and it just doesn't happen for us.
Here's John Jett, and that is partially blocked. And it rolls to a halt at the 30-yard line.
Down it, guys. Down it. Don't just let it sit there.
It's a 10-yard kick.
There's no reason to let it sit there.
Oh, the San Francisco can pick it up and run with it.
And you still need all the time you can get, right? And
that's Jeff Posey who came in and got enough of it. And so the 49ers will take over with 11:15 left in the 3rd. 21-0 San Francisco. Good action, golf action Saturday on ABC. The Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge. Stars of the PGA, LPGA, and Senior Tours tee off against each other from Las Vegas this Saturday as Garrison Hurst on the Niners' first play of the 2nd half with a little burst over right guard up to the 38-yard line.
You know, and again, it goes back to, you know, the linebackers got to get up in there. They got to take on the blocks, and they have to stuff them in the hole. They can't wait and absorb the blocks, because by the time that they get off of their blocks, they can't make the tackles. And that just reminds me of a guy that used to play middle linebacker for the Detroit Lions, and that was Chris Spielman. It's a guy who, you know, used to be the tough part of the Lion defense. 2nd and 2, and the handoff goes to Mark Edwards, who's a little short of the first, up to the 40-yard line. You know, and there was a great article in Sports Illustrated this week about Chris Spielman and the fight that he and his wife Stephanie are dealing with her cancer, and it was really one of the more remarkable articles that I've read in a long time because of what Chris has given up to be with his wife, and he's got his values in the correct order, and he's supporting her, and we hope that she makes her fight through and we get him back on the football field in the NFL. We desperately need him. 3rd and 1. Stephen Boyd has come out as Steve Young keeps it himself and picks up the 1st down. Richard Jordan now in at middle linebacker, and Steve Young for a gain of 2 and a 49er 1st down. And there is the middle linebacker. They work on the change the cleats of Barry Sanders, who tonight has been limited to 11 yards on 9 carries, as opposed to on the other side of the ball, that man right there, Mr. Garrison Hurst, 207 yards rushing for the 49ers, 135
from the feet of Garrison Hurst. Jerry Rice makes the catch, and he gets tackled immediately.
And of course, with Detroit trailing 21-0, you know that Barry Sanders carrying the football isn't going to be a featured part of the Lions offense here in the second half as they attempt to play catch up. So unless Barry pops a big one in one of the limited times he's going to carry it here on out, this is shaping up to be another bad night for Sanders.
49ers, meanwhile, have now gained over 200 yards rushing tonight, and that's the third consecutive game in which they have done that. They did it on the Monday night against New York. They did it last week against Carolina. And now tonight, and they'll add one or two more here on this Garrison Hurst play up to the 47-yard line.
You know what that does for you as an offense, it gives the quarterback an opportunity to make plays off of play action. We've seen Steve take off down the sideline. He can play action pass. You have to commit 8 men to the line of scrimmage to try to stop it, and then you have your 3 wide receiver package that puts an awful lot of pressure on your young secondary. I mean, these guys can hit you from a lot of different ways, and they are efficient in what they do and how they do it.
Well, as we all know, when you have to go on the road in the playoffs, which the 49ers will have to do in the later stages, running the football a tremendous asset.
And this time they send Greg Clark, a tight end, out in a wide receiver position and hit him for a first down.
And the reason he hit him out was because the Detroit Lion defense did not line up properly. And it's a thing that every quarterback has at his disposal, that if a guy is uncovered at the line of scrimmage, you just throw it out to him, and you practice this particular play in practice. You might get it maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And you could take here from a wide look, you could see the secondary is basically confused, and they get out there late, and Steve takes the ball and just throws it out there and makes the play. Boy, they are a machine when you watch that.
And this is Garrison Hurst. This time he can't get on track as Ron Race comes up from the secondary to knock him down. Now Steve Young at the age of 37, and he's been remarkable in terms of what he's done post 30. Remember, Young was a great college player, well up in the Heisman Trophy balloting, signed that enormous contract, or at least reported as a $40 million deal with the USFL.
Collected very little.
Collected like $1 million, right?
What you guys don't know is that year the Cincinnati Bengals had the first pick in the '84 draft, and he had agreed in principle to a contract prior to the draft, which you were allowed to do, and then backed out and went to the LA Express, and then some other guy ended up in Cincinnati that year in the draft.
2nd and 12, and that's Jerry Rice.
No, it wasn't Jerry Rice.
End. No.
Now, who's this guy that ended up in Cincinnati? Some nondescript player of, what was his name?
Virgil Carter.
Some
Virgil Carter. Was that it?
Got off the heap.
The heap. The Maryland heap.
The Maryland heap. Yes. So he and I have been kind of intertwined for quite some time.
There it is in his 20s, and part of that time spent in Tampa Bay, and then over here as the backup to Montana. And then once he turned 30, I mean, life began at 30 for Steve Young. 3rd down and 12 from the 45-yard line. And Young throws and sends it on a line into the arms of J.J. Stokes for a first down at the 28.
You talk about matchup problems, and when you have 3 wide receivers of this size and this magnitude that can get separation from the defensive backs like this, as a quarterback, you feel so comfortable about delivering the football. And as opposed to last week, we watched Brett Favre playing with players that he wasn't sure of how they were playing. So he was struggling with delivering the football, and it caused him into fumbles.
Nice work there by J.J. Stokes, dragging that left foot to make sure it was down, even though his momentum was really carrying him out of bounds.
From the 27-yard line, Young. And a flag comes in as Stokes and Terry Fair were matched up one-on-one.
It's got to be offense. I can't believe that they would call this on the defense.
Fair looked like it looks like he was making a nice, a play on the football.
Unless they call it a bump. I can't.
Pass interference. 23 defense. First down, San Francisco.
I'd like to take a close look at this, because from afar it looked like Terry Fair was playing that pretty well. Again, giving away a lot to J.J. Stokes.
Oh, no.
No, how in the world do you call that?
That's an absolutely horrendous call. I mean, and really what happens is when you have teams that are winning like the 49ers are and teams that are losing like the Detroit Lions, these things go against you.
Lions call foul.
You are allowed to establish some semblance of position as a cornerback.
First and goal. Young trying to make that 18-yard penalty pay off. Swinging to this side. He's going to tuck it in. He's going to seek the end zone and find it. Touchdown.
Well, good football teams know what to do when they get a break. The 49ers got a break with a bad call against Terry Fair, and Steve Young capitalizes.
I don't even know if he's broken a sweat tonight.
And that guy right there has reason to be upset.
42nd time Steve Young has rushed for a touchdown in his career. That's an all-time NFL record. Wade Ritchie for the point after. And the Niners, right now at least, to this point, playing what would be almost a perfect game.
Came into this game the second leading rusher in the NFL for quarterbacks behind Steve McNair. Man, he can do it all.
Long night for Bobby Ross, who berated the side judge Nate Jones, and there he is for that pass interference call. Drive culminates in a San Francisco touchdown. Wade Ritchie to kick off now. Fair from the goal line. And Terry, who's run 2 kicks back for touchdowns this season, gets tripped up
by his own
midfield.
guy.
Yeah. It was Tony Semple who actually knocks him down as Fair brings it back to midfield. 28-0 San Fran. Terry Fair running this kickback, and a 49er got him by the shirt at one point, but it was really Tony Semple, his own man, who makes contact with him and maybe cost him a touchdown. Semple 62 right there, taking Ritchie out of the play, but Fair brings it back to the 47, and Detroit sets up shop there. 5:34 left in the third quarter. Right, going deep, double coverage, all kinds of action down there, and it's incomplete with no flag intended for Herman Moore.
And I'll tell you, David Ritchie, number 94, just absolutely laid into Frank Reich as he threw the football. And you know, when you're a quarterback in this situation now, and you're trying to change plays at the line of scrimmage, you get out of the pocket, these guys are bearing down on you, and you have to deliver the ball in the face of an oncoming rush. And you can watch right here as Frank looks one way and kind of gets out of the pockets, avoids the rush, and now he knows he's got to set his feet to throw it deep, and he is going to take a wallop by number 94. Ouch.
On 2nd and 10, Barry Sanders, who's effectively been taken out of the game, and it's been that kind of a night for Barry as he goes nowhere. Barry Sanders has now carried the ball a total of 10 times for 11 yards. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. The wide track Grand Prix by Pontiac, wider is better. And the Home Depot, America's home improvement coach. Young and Rice and Owens. Yeah, Steve getting into that dangerous territory where they're going to yank him from the game pretty soon. 3rd down and 10.
Not without an argument.
Yeah, and he hates it. Right throws, and that's too high off the fingertips of Johnny Morton. The one thing, I mean, and Boomer, you know, Steve Young is as competitive as anybody. He's brilliant. I mean, he's very smart, and yet, and he should know, you know, his coach is taking him out because why waste him? But he hates to come out of the game.
He sure does. And this is the pass that Frank throws that, you know, Johnny Morton's got to make that catch. I mean, you got to have a little help when you're a quarterback. You can't just always deliver it on the numbers. You got to make that play. So especially if you want to make it to the Pro Bowl.
John Jett now. His punt fielded at the 11 by McQuarters. And McQuarters brings it back to the 20-yard line. Tackled there by Richard Jordan. With 4:19 to go in the third. Pretty much a walk in the park for the Niners to this point. 28-7. Look down at the press box high atop 3Com Park. Aerial coverage tonight provided by Southwest Airlines. This is the home of the Niners, and for one more season, the home of the San Francisco Giants before they move to their new park downtown in 2000. Ed DeBartolo, and we've talked about Eddie's story. Right now, he is on what would be, in effect, inactive status because of the legal situation that he has become embroiled with in regard to the Louisiana casino situation, but still able to come to the games. He just can't be involved in an official capacity, and is hopeful that he will be reinstated by the NFL sometime in the offseason.
And as we've talked about before, this is an organization with the departure of Carmen Policy and Dwight Clark that they need leadership. They need to be put back together.
2nd down and 6, and that's thrown incomplete, intended for Hurst. They look fine on the field though, and everybody keeps waiting for this bubble to burst. In the interim now, they've brought John McVay back. McVay, a long-time and highly respected executive and one-time coach of the New York Giants, and John is now back in the office on a daily basis, just overlooking everything.
And yet to be determined is Steve Mariucci's long-term role in this organization as to whether it extends beyond just coaching the team and works its way into the personnel matters.
Right now, though, if you keep Steve Young and Garrison Hurst healthy, you can compete with anybody in this league.
3rd down and 6. And there goes Young, and Steve picks up a 1st down.
You know, these are the things that really drive defensive coordinators crazy around the league when you play a guy like Steve, because when he's moving up in the pocket, he's not Larry. There's Larry Pecatello right there, the defensive coordinator. He's like, well, how do I stop this guy? And we talked before the game, and he said, you know, you just hope that, you know, the big plays don't come in bunches, and that's really what it comes down to. He keeps his eyes upfield. He looks to make plays, and when they're not there, he'll pull the ball down and he'll make a 1st down. And those things you can't defense those.
Ty Detmer waiting in the wings, the number 2 quarterback here in San Francisco. Jim Druckenmiller, their number 1 draft choice of a year ago, is the 3rd quarterback. And when you're the 3rd quarterback in San Francisco, you are really the 3rd quarterback.
Yes.
Druckenmiller yet to throw a pass here in 98.
There's always the thought out here, though, with the way he plays, Steve Young, and how reckless at times he can be. The thought of injury is there on the. Nobody really wants to talk about it. We always kind of talk about it when he takes off and runs with the football. But he's been very, very durable over the life of his career.
Well, the 49ers tonight, despite their long-time West Coast passing attack, keeping it on the ground with tremendous effectiveness, as is the case here again. That's a 1st down across the 50 to the 47-yard line, and Garrison Hurst keeps racking up yardage. Mark Carrier makes the tackle, and Garrison Hurst tonight has carried 18 times for 159 yards.
Not only are they doing it at the point of attack right at the offensive line, Dan, but downfield you see Terrell Owens and Terry Kirby blocking downfield. That's the key to getting long runs in the National Football League by running backs.
And one of the things that's kind of disturbing for the Detroit Lions is the people that those wide receivers and running backs are blocking are sticking to them like they've got Velcro on their jerseys. I don't see a lot of people fighting to get off those blocks.
Young on 1st down. Over the middle, tipped high in the air, and it's intercepted by Ron Rice. So it's another Young to Rice completion. But not what Steve was looking for.
He's throwing the ball to Clark, number 85, and I think number 44, Mark Edwards, gets in the middle and tries to make a play on it.
So Rice with the tip off Clark's hands. The interception for the Lions gives them the ball in the waning moments of the 3rd period.
You can see right here Steve Young moving up in the pocket, wants to throw the ball to 85 Greg Clark, but Mark Edwards, number 44, gets in the way, instinctively lifts his hands up and bats the ball in the air.
From the 27, Barry Sanders picks up about 3, tackled by Ken Norton.
Gosh, I hated that, man. I hate you get back there, you're running around, you throw the ball, and it gets batted up, and somebody comes down with it. You're like, oh man.
Well, there's Steve, who clearly doesn't want to come out of the game, and he's a great sense of where he is in history. If you just to show you what it means in terms of the statistics and what it costs you. An incompletion versus an interception, something he is aware of as Reich throws, and it is caught by Crowell, who spins for a first down. If that Young pass had been incomplete, his pass rating for the game would be 100.6, but with a pick, it's 99.7.
Devastating.
Yes.
Al's computer just had a meltdown.
No, that's for the season now.
Oh,
so in other words,
I thought you said the game.
No, he comes off triple figures and down to 99.7.
Well, he just have to throw another touchdown.
That's right, which he'll probably do before this one's done.
And that'll push him over the century mark.
Meanwhile, that is the end of the third quarter. 49ers on top 28-0, and back we come to San Francisco. Monday Night Football after this from our ABC station. And back we come to San Francisco as we start the fourth quarter. Al Michaels, Dan Dierdorf, Boomer Esiason, Lesley Visser. 49ers on top 28-0, and it's 1st and 10 for Detroit. Barry Sanders swinging to the outside. Tim McDonald helps force him out of bounds at the 49er 44-yard line.
This is
first down.
This is the area where I'd like to see the Detroit Lions get in their 2-minute offense. I mean, you're down 28 points. You got 15 minutes to go here. I mean, let's go. Let's get revved up and let's move it. And they actually did move it at the end of the first half in the 2-minute offense, so they showed an ability to do that. But I think it kind of jump starts you, get you out of your, your lethargic. They're lethargic right now.
First down at the 43-yard line.
But especially have the benefit of being able to at least see the end zone. They're in San Francisco territory. I agree with you, Boomer Ryan. What do you have to lose?
And really what's happening now is they're at the line of scrimmage, and they're making an audible at the line of scrimmage, and the defense of the 49ers is re-audibling their defense, and they're playing right into it right now.
Crowell making the acquaintance of Antonio Langham on this very beautiful night in San Francisco.
It's a beautiful night if you're a 49er fan, and everybody here at 3Com enjoying this display. And now you're reaching the part of a ball game where defensively for the 49ers, they'd like to get a shutout. You know that's what they're going for. And on the other side, it's humiliating to get shut out. And so everybody, Detroit offense is, it's a long ride home after being shut out.
And Bobby Ross talked about it last night.
This is Crowell. Makes the catch outside the 30-yard line and gets ridden down by Lance Schulters, picking up the first down at the 25.
And Bobby was saying, let's play for some pride. I mean, even though they're mathematically still in the playoff race, more importantly, he wants to see guys that want to be on this football team, that want to play with, a professional attitude. He doesn't want to see anybody laying down on him, and he hasn't sensed that yet. And this type of thing can get them going a little bit.
2 games to go for Detroit. They go home against Atlanta next Sunday, then they wrap it up at Baltimore. Sanders goes nowhere. Taken down at the line of scrimmage by Junior Bryant.
Well, anytime Barry has tried between the tackles against the 49ers, it has just been a complete stuff job, even without Bryant Young, who is in the hospital, as we talked about earlier, going to be released this week, and we wish him well. But the 49ers defensively are really compensating for his loss. Everyone honoring their gaps, their responsibilities, staying at home, and Barry Sanders literally no place to go.
2nd and 10 at the 25. Barry Sanders next to nothing.
What I see, Dan, is I see a team that's getting beat at the line of scrimmage on both ends of it. And really, as you and I both know, and probably every football fan, can sense is that you have to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, and their offensive and defensive lines are undersized, and you know they're just getting beat up and they're getting beat to the point. And, you know, when you're in a losing season, it seems like some of the emotion is lost as well on top of it.
Well, that last play, a prime example. Sanders takes the handoff, and Junior Bryant is 2 yards into the Lions' backfield.
3rd and 9 now from the 24-yard line. And Johnny Morton drops that one.
I mean, everybody's taking turns. It's been the quarterback down in the end zone. This has been a chance for Johnny Morton to make another catch, and he drops this one. It's not a terribly difficult catch, and you see the guys on the other side of the field making them look routine. You have to make that catch. It's not as accurate as you would like, but that's not a terribly difficult feat right there.
Not for a National Football League receiver.
And a big time receiver.
4th down and 9, and the Lions compelled to go for it. Have to get to the 15-yard line to convert. To the end zone goes Reich, and it is Herman Moore making the catch. So the big Herman Moore, the 6'4" Herman Moore, able to reach up and with Darnell Walker at 5'8" covering, makes the catch for a 4th down touchdown.
Boy, well, Darnell Walker was complaining, wasn't he, Dan?
Yeah. He bounced off of Herman, and the ball was not underthrown, but it was short of where Walker had played it. We'll get a look at it here. Herman Moore is a big guy.
He says right there was a little push, but I don't necessarily know that was that bad.
Walker just had the momentum, and he wasn't able to stop.
Well, Merton Hanks has got to get over the top and help Walker on this particular play. You can't expect Walker to do this by himself. And Merton's actually there, but he's unable to make a play on it as well.
Now Hansen for the point after. Blocked. And partially blocked enough so that it sent it off course. No good.
Man, I'll tell you, Bobby Ross is going to be pulling his hair out. When I played for him at the University of Maryland, it was special teams and defense. And boy, they let him down tonight.
28-6, 49ers. Back in San Francisco, 28-6. The 49ers on top as Jason Hansen sends a short kick down to the 16-yard line, and Terry Kirby comes right up the middle and brings it back to the 35-yard line. ABC Wednesday, it is Dharma and Greg, and take a look at who is guest starring. It's the 49ers, Steve Young. There he is right there. They shot that a couple of weeks ago. Don't miss the all-new Dharma and Greg at 8 o'clock, 7
rhythm,
Central.
Baby. No rhythm. That's why he doesn't dance after he scores touchdowns.
You're insinuating that you could have done better, and that's
absolutely.
Boy, you are cocky.
I have some moves. Come on, man.
You are cocky.
Well, maybe I can't play the game like him, but I certainly can dance better than him.
We'll get some cameras, Al. I think we ought to find out.
We have enough. First down from the 32-yard line as Garrison Hurst takes it up to the 41. Gain of 8. I want to see Boomer in a turtle. I can't believe you guys wear turtlenecks all year long. So now I put one on for the first time ever. I guess that fashion statement is done, right?
Well, no, Al. We have selectively.
Al, you're just trying to look younger, Al.
No.
You're just trying to look younger,
I believe focus group research showed they want to see the announcers in turtlenecks. So you know we have to pay attention to those focus groups, baby.
Then you'll be the lone survivor here.
On 2nd and 2, it is Garrison Hurst to the 44 for a first down.
Oh boy, he's relentless.
Turning into Cosell right before your eyes, Boomer, right?
You are.
I remember doing the All-Star game here in '84 with Howard, who opened up this telecast by saying, "Welcome to this monument of political chicanery, Candlestick Park in San Francisco."
There he is.
Yeah. Go ahead, turn to the camera.
No.
Come on, let's get a full model shot.
A full model shot. I want to see Boomer's dance.
You want to dance?
You don't look any younger to me in that.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think it's very stylish, Al.
Thank you, sir.
And I wish
this is Hurst.
I wish you and Boomer would stop tiffing.
I love you guys.
All right, come on, Boomer.
Dancing. Forget
Dance.
it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of town.
I can't dance like that. Come on. Boy, we're really hurting here, boys.
I never thought it would come to this.
If you just tuned in, it's 28-6.
Yes.
You can tell.
And it's not really that close.
9:24 left in regulation. 2nd down and 4 at the 50-yard line. For the 49ers. Young.
Actually, that graphic is wrong. It's 28-27.
Yes. Hurst. And Garrison, big night continues. 5th time this year he has been into triple figures. And Garrison Hurst on the evening has carried the ball now a total of 22 times for 182 yards.
And remember, this was a football team that before Hurst's arrival here last year, when they lost Ricky Waters, they were really struggling for a running identity. And they went through a span of a couple of years there where they just didn't get it done in the running game and had to rely way too much on passing the football. Check out some of those guys.
Yeah.
Billy Kilmer.
And Hurst has a chance to set a single game record, but right now they give the ball to Terry Kirby, who takes it to the 41-yard line. Steve Mariucci is the kind of coach who is into this sort of thing, and if somebody gets Steve the word that Hurst is approaching a record, he'd probably let him get it.
You know, the interesting thing, this time of year in the NFL, it's Pro Bowl balloting time. And when you look at the running backs in the NFC and you see Jamal Anderson, Barry Sanders, Garrison Hurst, Emmitt Smith, and Robert Smith, all players over 1,000 yards, all players that are having, you know, really fine seasons. I mean, where do you go with these picks?
Well, Delvin Williams, the team record, 194 yards against St. Louis in 1976. That's the 49er team record rushing. As Young gets rolled down on the far side by Richard Jordan.
And that Pro Bowl balloting that you were talking about takes place tomorrow around the National Football League. The 49ers actually voted day before yesterday because they were playing tonight. But around the league tomorrow, a lot of guys' trips to Hawaii are going to be determined.
And it's a really serious thing, and guys take it to heart, you know, when they don't make it or when they do make it. When they do make it, it is a sign of respect from the coaches and players from around the league, and it's something that is the individual part of the game that, you know, that you can really get some great satisfaction out of.
3rd down and 8. Hurst is 11 yards shy of the record, and Young has to take a timeout. Delvin Williams at St. Louis. Dan, you must have played in that game.
I was there.
December of 1976. 7:04 left in regulation. On ESPN Sunday night, the Red Hot Vikings hosting Jacksonville. Big game for the Jaguars coming off yesterday's loss. And then we'll be in Miami next week as Elway and Marino lock up. Marquee matchup, the Broncos against the Miami Dolphins. And all of a sudden, a very critical game for Miami.
And a really rare opportunity to see Dan Marino and John Elway locking horns.
3rd down and 8. As Young throws into traffic, a screen is set up, but Terry Kirby makes the catch and is brought down immediately by one Tracy Scroggins. Talking about Pro Bowl running backs, take a look. Davis, and we'll see him next week on his way to a 2,000-yard season. The Falcons' Anderson is right here. Then Hurst has gone ahead of Sanders with the performance tonight. Marshall Faulk rounds out the top 5.
You know, and you look at that, and you see that Davis obviously from Denver and Faulk from Indianapolis, and Marshall Faulk has had a great year as well. He's taken a lot of pressure off of Peyton Manning, and then you see the other 3 from the NFC. You know, it is a really difficult decision to be made, and I hope the players around the league take it very seriously when they do their voting.
Reggie Roby floats one down to the 11-yard line. Fair caught by Terry Fair. With 6:09 remaining in the 4th, and the 49ers on top by 22. Well, That's our production meeting, our spread this morning.
Where was I? I didn't see that.
Well, it was gone by the time you got there.
Dan ate it all.
Detroit has it. 6:09 to go from the 13-yard line as Reich throws, caught at the 20-yard line by Herman Moore, covered by Merton Hanks. 49ers will go to New England next week, and the way it looks right now, Drew Bledsoe will not play. No word yet whether Tom Tupa or Scott Zolak would get the start.
Well, Drew gamely attempting to play and did play in that loss to the Rams yesterday. I think 11 out of 35 ineffective, and you really admirable to try to play with that pin that was surgically implanted in his finger during the week. I don't know how a quarterback could do that. I don't know how it's possible.
And he broke his finger the night that we had him on Monday night, and led his team to come from behind victories and really gutted it out. And I think he took that team on his shoulders, and he showed that he could play it. And he elevated himself, in my eyes, to another level. I mean, he really did.
Here's Ron Rivers picking up about 5.
And there have been a number of stories around the league this year that are similar to that. And there's Barry Sanders on the sideline, which is, probably right now the best place for him to be, just to keep him healthy. And I'm sure the 49ers like to see that, so he's ready to go next week.
No question, against Atlanta, 2nd and 4. And again, as the pass is incomplete, we had mentioned before that Dan Reeves underwent a quadruple bypass operation earlier today in Atlanta. The Falcon coach expected to be released from the hospital Friday, and the doctor was talking about the fact that he thought that Dan could be involved in game planning for the Miami game, which is the last week of the season, and should be back on the sidelines by the playoffs.
One of the guys I know on that staff that has head coaching experience, Rich Brooks, is defensive coordinator, formerly the head coach at the University of Oregon, the head coach of the Rams.
And they did say that Rich would serve as the, in effect, head coach this week, even though he's going to remain upstairs
in the press box.
In the press box. Yep.
Yeah. My question for you guys, there are so many neat stories this year in the NFL. I mean, which one kind of stands out in your eyes? I mean, if you had to each pick your own. Any ideas?
Well, one that jumps into my mind, it would be, there's so many. The biggest surprise to me is how dominant the Minnesota Vikings are. And with Randall Cunningham in Brad Johnson's absence, taking that, and as good as Denver is, you just can't say that Denver is the best team in football without saying, you know what, I don't know if they're that much better than Minnesota.
And Doug Flutie, too, has been a fantastic story this year.
Vinny. Vinny Testaverde and the New York Jets. I mean, what they have done. And also, how about the Atlanta Falcons?
Absolutely.
And I have been talking about them for about 9 weeks now, and their defense and their running game, and Chris Chandler when healthy.
This is Rivers making the catch to the 46, the Dirty Birds.
Right. And you go back to, again, Pro Bowl voting and things of that nature, and you look at the roster for NFC quarterbacks in this league. I mean, it's really, obviously Steve Young, obviously Randall Cunningham. And where do you go after that?
Well, the 49ers go into the Detroit backfield a little too early as Roy Barker jumps it.
And it's everybody, well, not everybody, but half the players acting like they heard a whistle down there, standing around and looking.
Ron Blum, the referee.
This is the point in a game where, as a player, you were always told, keep your head on a swivel. This is where some guys are standing around and some guys are moving fast.
And this is the point in a game where the quarterback says to the offensive lineman, please, guys.
Offside, 92 defense.
Help me.
5 yards. Repeat first down.
Offside against the Niners. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Budweiser. What fresh beer tastes like. Ford Explorer. Explorer built Ford tough. First Union, your guide to the financial world. And Microsoft, where do you want to go today?
How about the roster for wide receivers in the NFC?
Oh, yeah, that's.
Oh, man.
Well, every year it seems the ball's being put in the air more and more, and the numbers just become. It's just routine now to have 70 and 80 and 90 reception seasons.
On 1st and 5, it is intercepted by Darnell Walker. And Walker, whose brother is a defensive back across the bay for the Oakland Raiders, takes it across the 50 down to the 46-yard line.
Hey, that was a heck of a return.
49ers putting a little bit of an exclamation point on what will be another win. Steve Young done for the night, so after the game Steve will be tuning into ABC as you can, or staying tuned for your late local news or other programming, or you can go over to ESPN for a post-game show. Ty Detmer comes in to wrap it up at quarterback at the 46-yard line. Young's back up. Garrison Hurst. We're talking about all the stories in the league this year. Well, also one of the big stories on the other side has been the officiating, obviously, especially in the last couple of weeks. So this weekend, no real controversies. This game, controversy-free. Ron Blum is the referee tonight, and he signals that a timeout has been taken here.
Thus killing your story.
Yes, by the Detroit Lions, but we'll get to it when we come back.
Not Hall of Fame numbers for Hall of Fame players.
Oh, Sanders and Rice non-factors, and Garrison Hurst with that run there to the 31-yard line has just set a new 49er rushing record. Most yards in one game, eclipsing a mark that stood for 22 years and was set by Delvin Williams in the dark days of 1976 at St. Louis on New Year's Eve. Here is Garrison Hurst now at 198, new record.
And sent in just to do this, and as he has done all night, gotten around the corner and upfield against the Lions, barely contested, sent in to make that run and comes right out.
And the crowd knows it now, and they salute him as word gets through the stadium. Terry Kirby now. And Mariucci, Steve, the kind of guy that is really in touch and in tune with that, and he's not going to necessarily do something to the detriment of the game as a whole to get somebody a mark, but in this particular circumstance, when you get that close, give him an opportunity, and he did.
Well, the other side of that is Steve Mariucci extremely fond of Garrison Hurst. Said he's the ultimate team guy, a wonderful locker room influence, and just could not be more impressed with Garrison Hurst.
It's a great story for a guy who started out his career in Arizona, injured, and ends up going to Cincinnati after being waived by the Cardinals, and then really comes out here and finds a home for him.
The Golf Pro signals a hold here in the 49ers. Dan, we've been around Ron for a long time.
Holding, 65 offense, 10 yards, repeat second down.
Great thing about him is you always go up and you'll say, Ron, just give me one swing thought.
One swing thought.
The last thing was, he said, when you finish, your right knee should point to the target.
And your hips should face the target all the way through.
Right, but if you're Boomer,
it's the other way around.
It's right.
As it has been his entire life.
Right.
The other way around. Oh, don't get that look on your face. I hate it when you get that look on your that smitten look.
You guys are relentless, man.
Oh.
It's just unbelievable.
Oh, just trying to wake you up. Oh, you were dozing off over there.
Second and 19. Boomer, this is tough love. This is Kirby picking up 9 to the 31.
Oh, boy, tough love. That's what I need from Al.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I got to do another promo here. That's why we're in business. The critics say it's the best cop show on TV. Dennis Franz and Rick Schroeder on an all-new NYPD Blue. That's tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 9 Central, right here on ABC.
Pretty powerful.
Yes, sir. Schroeder or Schrader?
Schroeder.
Okay.
Jay Schrader used to play for the Redskins and the Raiders. Bill Schrader plays for the Packers. Harvey Schrader.
That's right.
Someone I have no idea who that is.
Harvey Falukian. We don't know who he is either. Here is.
Got to be one somewhere.
Here is Kirby inside the 20, and Terry Kirby. And he really puts the exclamation point on this night, and a 49er rushing game that has been unbelievable. 31 yards.
And you can see it up the middle. Linebackers not getting away from their blocks. Defensive linemen getting pushed around, and
this is this is over 300 yards rushing.
330.
330 for the 49er team. Whoa, baby. That is domination.
Very uncharacteristic for a Bobby Ross coach team. You know, he preaches toughness, and this has been a long season for the Detroit Lions. It's been up and down, and right now they just don't have the horses up front to deal with a rushing attack of this magnitude.
That's a 49er team rushing record.
Got him.
324 in a game against Minnesota in 1961. So that's a record that stood for 37 seasons.
And you see right there, number 25 throwing himself in there. Greg Jeffries, I mean, you have to go after the tackle. You can't just throw yourself blindly into a pile and expect the guy of Terry Kirby's size and weight to go down. You have to keep your head up and you have to make the tackle. You can't shy away from the contact.
35-6. The 49ers this season have scored exactly 31 points 5 different times. In no game this season have they scored fewer than 19 points, which is almost what a team averages per game. A regular team. Rushing and passing. I mean, when you look at that, who would have ever figured that tonight? Those numbers. And the 49ers on the verge of either setting or coming close to setting a lot of league offensive marks for yardage, points, and all of the rest in what for them may be a season in which they finish in second place, amazingly enough, in their division. Ritchie kicks off. And at the 5-yard line, it is Terry Fair. And Fair brings it back to the 21-yard line.
Digging around in the Lions press guide, they gave up 366 yards rushing to the Packers back in 1947. That's their worst effort.
Fortunately for them, not in jeopardy. 2-minute warning. Maybe. (35-6). The Niners on top. Well, let's get a word from Mr. Hurst. Mr. Hurst Sr. Lesley?
Al, he's right here. He's a very excited father. Gary Hurst, was it great when he came over to hug you?
Yes, yeah, that was a great feeling. I've never seen anything like it. I'm so proud to be here to be a part of it.
You must be so proud. And where'd you get the shirt?
I got my shirt from him. He gave it to me. This is one of his game shirts, actually.
Do you wear it? Are you superstitious?
No, I wear the shirt every game. No.
And you said you've seen him play since high school at Georgia and now in the pros?
I've seen him play since he was a little kid playing midget mite football back at home in Lincoln, Georgia.
Well, he is so proud, Alan. He did point out that let us remember that Terrell Davis played behind Garrison Hurst at Georgia.
Georgia. Oh, my. I mean, think about the athletes that have come through there in recent years.
And really, I mean, this is the year of the Georgia running back, isn't it? I mean, between he and Terrell and I guess Robert Edwards up in New England. I mean, there's so many players that have come through there, and these guys are really holding it up quite nicely.
Lions at the 21-yard line. And Reich throws, and we'll pad his stats with that catch by Herman Moore to the 44-yard line.
Uga would really be proud, wouldn't he?
Yes, Uga 6, whatever it is right now.
There's been a lot of Ugas.
The Georgia Bulldog, my favorite mascot. And Sloan can't make the catch. The 49ers tonight, 330 yards on the ground. It is the most yardage gained by any NFL team rushing since the Raiders against Seattle the night on Monday Night Football when Bo Jackson ran through the tunnel and all the way to Tacoma. Right. In 1987.
Look at those gaudy numbers. And Al, let me ask you this. Could you maybe have made a few bucks if you could have told somebody the 49ers were going to put 35 points on the board with 81 yards passing?
Unbelievable. It's like the reverse numbers tonight of what you would have expected.
You really wouldn't think that'd be possible, would you, Boom?
No, I wouldn't. And really, when you look at the other side, you see drop passes, you see penalties, you see interceptions, and you see a team that is obviously on the side of a losing record.
Stabline made that last catch. Lions called a timeout that night, and we were all there. Dan and I were there in 1987 with Frank, and Bo ran for 221 yards. and Marcus Allen had 70 some odd yards that night as well.
Steve Hurt, our director of information, telling us that the fewest yards passing by a 49er team in a winning effort since 1978. We got to go back 20 years to
yeah.
It's you might
pre-Walsh.
And that yeah, pre-Walsh is right.
But you also have to remember that Steve Young, I believe, has 66 yards rushing, so he is as much a part of the rushing game in this particular game as he's ever been.
Well, the one rush that really broke the Lions back was his 4th down bootleg around the right end.
Kirby's added 60 along the way. Ron Rivers makes the catch, escapes Norton. A flag is down. And he finally gets wrestled down inside the 10. The marker down all the way back.
Little mini fracas.
A baby
by
fracas.
The 8-yard line or so.
A fracasette.
A fracasette. A fricois. The Lions acting like this will be against the 49ers, so they'll get a shot at the end zone again.
Offside. Number 21 defense lined up in the neutral zone. Penalties decline. First down.
R.W. McQuarters.
And when you look back on this particular game, especially in the first half, there were 2 plays, and coaches usually say there are about 6 or 7 plays that change the nature of a game, that if they go one way or the other, then obviously the team that executes the play is the team that will win. And they both happen down here on this side of the field, and nobody probably feels worse than Frank Wright does. He had an opportunity for a touchdown and then threw an interception later on in the game. And well, that's the part of playing quarterback in the NFL. You got to wipe it off, get up, and wake up and get ready to play another one next week.
First and goal from the 6. And that's off the fingertips of Brian Stabline. Flag is also thrown at the end of that play.
You might get a roughing the passer here.
What the 49ers did tonight, guys, was the first couple of times they had the ball offensively, they were so methodically moving the ball against the Lions, they really just broke the spirit. Saw the ball tipped there at the end by Walker.
Roughing the passer. 78 defense. Half the distance to the goal. First down, Detroit.
That was a nice play by Walker, but that time Frank threw the ball where you want to. You want to throw it high.
Shane Bonham with the penalty.
So you want to play quarterback in the NFL,
1, 2, 3 steps.
Hey, Al.
And
you see that
shot
right
in the
there?
back.
You see that?
I never said I wanted to play quarterback.
No, I'm just saying, do you see that play right there?
Got it.
That's why I don't want to play anymore.
Is that why you don't want to play anymore?
That's exactly right.
Boomer, you came into this business too late. Like Dan said, something's wrong when the players start making more than the announcers.
The system's out of whack.
I know it. And that's overthrown.
Who said you want to play, Boomer?
I don't know.
Boomer, are you fish or foul? Are you chicken fish?
I am, that's why I'm up here. I am chicken fish.
That's right. Second down and goal now. That aerial shot of San Francisco a minute or 2 ago. Beautiful holiday season. You saw the Embarcadero Center lit up. Happy town again tonight as the Niners are on their way to going 11-3. Second and goal.
But they're such a disappointing team.
Yes, right. And that's caught. And it's David Sloan catching it for the touchdown.
He gets his first touchdown catch of the year, so a little something for Sloan to put in his resume.
Well, it's 35-12, and in a certain sense, Dan, we're to that point where it's not quite over.
Al, as always, I understand.
Yes, and that's well, Detroit is going for 1, to the chagrin of some of our pals. Yes. This is Hansen.
You mean going for 2 would make a difference?
Well, you never know. You never know.
What are you guys talking about?
Well, I know Dan and I understand this, but
another fracas.
That's right. 35-13. So 48 total points in this contest at San Francisco.
Well, as always, boys, it's been a little slice of heaven being here with you.
It has been. San Francisco. Look at Fisherman's Wharf, and we've seen the great sights of the city.
Yeah, you know, it is a great city to come and just, you know, I mean, it's terrific.
Craig, is our helicopter still up? Still flying there? Well, let's take a peek here. The beautiful city by the bay. The late Herb Cain, before the Gulf War, dubbing it Baghdad by the bay.
Helicopter high.
Yeah,
over,
the choppers,
over the stadium.
The choppers high over the stadium.
You know,
right
the
now.
best thing about that is look at how many people have already left.
That's right.
So, boom, we're out of here.
I got to find out. Let's take a look
No
what's
traffic.
open downtown. Any restaurants? Any, you know, maybe Tommy Toys are still open downtown, or there's.
Well, we know where you're going to dinner.
Well, not tonight. It's most restaurants closed down for Monday Night Football. And there's the Embarcadero Center. As always, lit up for the holiday season. Our crew,
Actually,
Kenny Wolf and Craig Janoff, also lit up for the holiday season as well.
As always, our fearless leaders down in the truck.
And our gang up here.
Yeah, I thought Al was our leader.
Well, Lynn Vandenberg, of course, is our kennel keeper up here in the booth. Thank you, Lynn.
Al is our leader.
Our statistician, George Hill, our spotter, Malibu Kelly Hayes.
Well, here comes an onside kick, which, by the way, this year I think about 30% of them get recovered.
Really?
Which is a higher percentage than normal. Which means actually few of them get recovered.
Oh, they're going to get this one. No, almost.
Flag is up.
It's down. It's all around.
So next week we go to Miami. What a game that was last night, wasn't it? New York Jets and Miami. The Jets establishing themselves, and they'll have a huge game this week against Buffalo.
That's a Saturday game. Here's Ron Blum with the call now.
Offside on the receiving team. Short kick out of bounds on the kicking team. Those penalties offset. Re-kick.
Okay.
Except I thought, didn't somebody touch that ball before it went out of bounds?
Looked like it.
Big George Stewart, the special teams maven of the San Francisco 49ers.
Chuck Prefer, his opposite number.
Counterpart.
Among other things tonight, Steve Mariucci will remain undefeated at home since taking the reins last year. Steve was 8-0 at home last year, and he will be 7-0 with only St. Louis to play at home in the regular season. So Steve, in his first 2 years, has done a magnificent job here.
He has done a fine job of coaching, and this doesn't mean to take anything away from him. But it's a pretty good gig to get to be the head coach of the 49ers.
Oh, it is.
Well, as long as you have either Steve Young or Joe Montana playing quarterback for you.
Well, in case you haven't noticed, Boomer, they've been here for a while.
You know, the thing is, though, and you even alluded to it earlier, I mean, there are teams in this league that are having a hard time throwing a forward pass.
That's right.
49ers are going to win their 8th Monday night game in a row. And yet, despite it all, and you're looking at a team right now that's going to be 11-3. Back at the Crew Hotel.
Oh, you're bad.
Some of the crew. 11-3 will the 49ers be at the end of this game, and they could wind up 13-3 and yet still have to make their way to the Super Bowl through the wild card bracket.
Hey, Denver did it.
Yep.
Not impossible, especially with an offense like this. If their defense can come around and play, you know, like they did tonight and hold an outstanding runner to what they did.
And what do you need to win? What do you need to win on the road in the playoffs? A running game.
You better have a defense that stops the running game.
And the 49ers have a running game.
Sure do.
If the season ended right now, what you'd have in that first round of the playoffs in the NFC is you would have Green Bay at San Francisco. And then you would have, at the moment, Arizona at Dallas, with Minnesota and Atlanta.
So we could be back here to do that game then a wild card Saturday.
It's a wild card Saturday.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
And we'll
Green
just
Bay at
stay
San
here.
Francisco?
And we'll just
Absolutely.
camp out. We'll camp out. Stake a claim.
All right. Well, look at downtown right there. And a kneel down will end it by Detmer, and the 49ers throw pretty close to a perfect game tonight. 35-13 is the score, but very little doubt about this one. And Bobby Ross watches his club go to 5-9 and head home. And Steve Mariucci saying to Bobby, I'm sure something along the lines of, go beat them Falcons.
And Bobby's saying, hey, Steve, can I have a few of your players?
Yeah, that's right.
Lend me a couple.
35-13 is the final score from the Bay. And we'll wrap it up from San Francisco after this. Young and Hurst, the stars of the game. What else is new? Here's Lesley.
They are, Al, as you know, they're undefeated at home. You mentioned it, chasing Atlanta. And for you, scrambling, running all over the place, you outrushed Barry Sanders. You almost leaped into the stands.
Yeah, I didn't want to leap in the stands, but we had a lot of opportunities to run the football tonight. I don't know, just kind of move the ball, and this way it ended up. We didn't throw the ball nearly as much as we usually do, but we didn't need to because we had the big man.
That's right. Maybe this guy could teach you a touchdown dance. Well, congratulations to you, Garrison. You broke a 49er record. What does that mean to you?
It's great. It's part of a great tradition here, and the big guys up front took care of me, and we were able to make some yards today on the ground.
Do you know that you are on pace? You need fewer than 100 yards to break Roger Craig's single-season record of 1,502 yards set in 1988?
Yeah, the big guys been talking about it all week, so it's been kind of. So, gee, you got to get this, and we can break this record. So, for more than anything, it's for them more than me.
Well, and not to be diminished, a great effort by your defense.
Most definitely. We played against the best running back in the league, and we stopped him tonight. Those guys came out and they took care of things tonight for us.
Well, I think you were the real number 20 tonight.
I did good, but, Barry's a man.
He is the man, but Bryant Young did say to me from the hospital, he said, that defense has got to shut him down. I need a good night's sleep. That you did. Congratulations to both of you. Back to you, Al.
Well, thank you, Lesley. So the Niners win it very convincingly, 35-13. A reminder after the game, stay tuned to ABC for late local news or other programming, or to ESPN. You can go there for post-game coverage as the 49ers go to 11-3 but still trail Atlanta, and we go to Miami for the Elway and Marino confrontation next Monday night. It's the Broncos against the Dolphins. Until then, Al Michaels for Dan Dierdorf, Boomer Esiason, and Lesley Visser saying good night from San Francisco.